Two players sit down in front of a bulky, glowing CRT. They're about to play Super Smash Bros. Melee on the Nintendo GameCube, a game released in 2001 that against all odds is still one of the most played competitive video games today. The goal is simple: beat the other player. To do that, you'll need sharp reflexes, quick thinking, and the ability to make the right choice moment after moment. But here's the thing. In Melee, the most important choice isn't made mid-match. It's made before the game even begins. Melee's roster is full of variety. Some characters overwhelm you with blistering speed. Others excel at precision, shutting down space and dictating the pace. And a handful rely on sheer power, landing crushing blows if they can get an opening. And of course, some characters are just plain bad. Really bad. In a game as brutally competitive as Super Smash Bros. Melee, your choice of character can mean the difference between an uphill struggle and a fighting chance. Enter the tier list. A tier list is a way of ranking how strong something is compared to everything else in its category. You've probably seen fast food tier lists or movie tier lists floating around on YouTube, but their roots come from gaming communities, specifically competitive fighting games. Melee's first tier list showed up on the Smashboards forums back in 2002. It features Melee's cast of 26 playable characters stack ranked and then further categorized into tiers to reflect their viability. Under this format, the idea is simple and brutally clear. If you want to win, then pick the characters at the top of the list. Any other choice would be a waste of your time. Melee is not a static game, and as competitive players improved, different iterations of the tier list would come out to reflect the changing competitive landscape. Some characters would remain relatively stable in their placements. Other characters would move up and down as players either pushed the character forward or abandoned them entirely. But one character would make it to the top and remain there as the meta-defining character. Enter Fox McCloud. Fox is arguably the fastest movement in the game, letting him zip across the stage and punish opponents before they can react. His attacks come out quickly, deal strong knockback, and set up perfectly for stringing combos together. Add to that his deadly launchers, which can end stocks absurdly early, and his Shine, a versatile attack capable of starting combos, edge guarding, and even breaking pressure. With all of these tools, Fox isn't just strong, he has an answer to almost every situation, and is widely considered the best character in the game for it. As Fox would gain popularity in competitive Melee, many players speculated of a future where Fox was the only character worth playing. The year is 20XX. Everyone plays Fox at TAS levels of perfection. This iconic copy pasta was coined in 2013 when former Captain Falcon main Hax switched to Fox, declaring him the superior character and claiming that playing any other character was simply unoptimal. It was foretold that Fox's unmatched abilities would simply outclass the entire roster, and choosing anyone else would eventually be pointless. The idea of a competitive scene revolving around a few select characters isn't anything new, even within Smash. In Brawl, for example, Meta Knight was so dominant that he was given his own category on the tier list. His tournament performance was so dominant that the Brawl community debated banning him entirely due to the distinct advantage he had against the entire rest of the cast. So when Melee players speculated about a future where Fox was the only character worth playing, it didn't sound that far-fetched. But is that where the story ends? Did Melee really become a solved game? Or is that only one side of the story? One way to think about Melee is as a fast-paced real-time version of Pokemon. Each Pokemon comes with its own stats, moves, and type matchups. To win, a player has to lean on their Pokemon's strengths, study their opponent's habits, and capitalize on mistakes, while also avoiding making any of their own. Sometimes, you'll be at a disadvantage, and while it's still possible to win, you'll need to outplay your opponent to overcome the odds. That's why the best Pokemon are usually the ones with the strongest stats, the best moves, and the fewest bad matchups. They minimize the number of uphill battles that you'll need to face. A Blastoise, for example, has the bulk, firepower, and enough good moves to carry you through the game and defeat the Elite Four. Raticate, on the other hand, is much weaker, less versatile, and has fewer tools to win tough fights. Beating the game with Raticate isn't impossible, but it's going to be an uphill struggle, and there's a reason most players opt for better Pokemon along their journey. For a long time, that's exactly how players viewed Melee's roster. Playing the top tiers was essentially picking the Pokemon with the best stats and matchup coverage. Choosing a low tier was seen as a mistake. Why would you bring a Raticate to a fight when you could bring a Blastoise? But that begs the question, do Melee characters boil down to a game of picking the character with the optimal stats on paper? Like any video game, Melee does have plenty of technical aspects to it that players can dissect and analyze, but this is only one dimension, because although there is a game with set metrics and frame data, in order to win tournaments, a player must understand that there is a human opponent on the other side. In competitive gaming, the metagame, or simply the meta, refers to the current state of strategy, the characters, tactics, and playstyles that players collectively believe are the strongest at any given moment. The tiers we looked at earlier are kind of a shorthand for the meta, an attempt to capture it in one snapshot. But here's the secret. The meta isn't a law of nature. It's not decided by data or code. It's shaped by people, their opinions, their experiences, their successes and failures. Tier lists are really just a reflection of what the community believes to be true at a certain point in time. The thing about opinions is that they can become self-fulfilling. Historically, Fox is by far the most represented character in top-level Melee, and has been throughout most of the game's timeline. If most players believe Fox is the best, then aspiring competitors naturally gravitate towards him. With more people playing Fox, there's more innovation, more strategies discovered, and a higher chance that an amazing player will emerge and push the character further in tournaments. But there's a catch. As Fox players sharpen their game, everyone else sharpens their counterplay. When a character becomes that common, the entire community becomes trained to fight them. Every matchup against Fox is studied, every punish route memorized. And that leads to the question every Melee player has to answer for themselves. Do you ride the wave of the meta, or do you try and change it? Some players follow the path that 20XX predicted, doubling down on what's proven and grinding the best options to perfection. Others see the meta not as a rulebook, but as a challenge. Even the weakest characters in Melee have quirks, unique moves, odd hitboxes, or unorthodox timings that can catch opponents off guard. In the right hands, these traits can become powerful tools. A low tier pick might not be a winning pick in the numbers game, but it can win the mind game, forcing the opponent into situations they might not be prepared for. Of course, this approach is risky. Many in the community still see these strategies as temporary tricks. Flashy, surprising, but ultimately unsustainable. Given enough time, the idea goes that the real top tiers will adapt, dissect the new tech, and crush it back into irrelevance. But every so often, someone comes along who breaks that expectation entirely. A player who finds utility where others only saw flaws, using creativity and matchup knowledge to carve out a genuine advantage in even the most hostile of metas. They believe their characters have untapped potential, and that true mastery means winning because of their characters' quirks, not in spite of them. For these players, pushing the game forward isn't about optimization or technical skill. It's about creativity. It's about finding new answers, new ideas, and new ways to make Melee exciting. And these players aren't just footnotes or background characters. They're the heart of why Melee is still alive today. Often labeled as a zoner, Link's game plan revolves around keeping opponents at bay with his long sword and a barrage of projectiles. Once he's racked up enough damage and lands a projectile opening, he can link it into one of his powerful launchers and send the opponent into a KO. The trade-off is speed. Link is bulky and slow. Although he does have some great moves such as his unusually lingering neutral air, his overall playstyle is easily overwhelmed by the game's faster and more combo-heavy characters. For years, this made him a non-factor in competitive play. Most players wrote him off entirely, believing his defensive toolkit could never hold up against top-tier aggression. That is, until the right player decided to put Link to the test. New York Fox main Aklo is widely considered one of the best Melee players in the modern era. He first built a reputation as a hidden boss of the New York scene, quietly taking sets off established veterans. But in the post-COVID resurgence of competitive Melee, Aklo broke through as a consistent major threat. His Fox playstyle is defined by technical precision and control, using speed not just to rush down opponents, but to whittle down their stamina through a suffocating hit-and-run playstyle. He baits, punishes, and dismantles his opponents with surgical timing. But he's got one more X factor that makes him notably distinguishable from every other Fox player. Despite his breakthrough in Melee, Aklo also had a strong background as a Link player in Project M, a popular mod of Super Smash Bros. Brawl that reworked the game's mechanics to more closely resemble Melee. The mod became a competitive staple in its own right, featuring rebalanced character designs that buffed many of the weaker characters in Melee. Link retained his defensive playstyle, but received key upgrades that made him far more viable, making him much more common in competitive play. Aklo's experiences with that version of Link taught him how to control space, pressure opponents with projectiles, and stay composed in slower, more methodical matchups. He found success in Project M tournaments, but the true payoff came later, when he carried those lessons back into Melee. Although considered much less viable here, Aklo's fondness for Link still encouraged him to utilize the character as a secondary to have fun and experiment with. Aklo was even able to take some notable wins in his local scene that got players outside the New York scene talking. But when it came to serious tournaments, Aklo would utilize Fox to terrorize brackets. His post-COVID success landed him in Melee's top ranks, where he would consistently go head-to-head with Melee's top players. Yet even a player as sharp as Aklo faced one of Fox's oldest problems, a glaring weakness baked into the character design. You see, one of the best features about Fox is simultaneously his Achilles heel, fall speed. In Melee, every character has a set fall speed that determines how quickly they return to the ground after being sent into the air. Lighter, slower falling characters known as floaties tend to die earlier off the top, but they're harder to string together combos on since they get knocked farther away. On the other hand, fast followers like Fox live longer against vertical knockouts and enjoy sharper ground mobility. This can work to their favor in many situations, but it comes with a major caveat. They're also the perfect way to be chain grabbed, juggled, and comboed relentlessly. Nowhere is this vulnerability more exposed than on Final Destination. The stage's flat layout amplifies Fox's speed advantage, but it also removes platforms that could break up punish strings. Without those safety nets, many characters can unleash devastating, streamlined combos that erase stocks faster than anywhere else. The most infamous examples being Marth and Peach, who can convert a single grab into a brutal 0-to-death sequence with almost no room to escape. In a best of 5 tournament set, players agree on a starting stage and then the loser of each game counterpicks the next. Under this format, an opponent is essentially guaranteed a stage of their choice, meaning Fox players will likely have to play at least one game on Final Destination to win a set. With how brutal the punish is against Fox, this dynamic can be a big momentum swinger. Characters with chain grabs only need to get a few openings and hit their practice punish routes, while Fox must play with near perfect precision to survive. Although some Fox mains see their odds as still favorable due to the power of their character, others view FD as a tax, a stage they're expected to lose on for the privilege of playing the best character. But Melee doesn't lock you into one character for an entire set. After a counterpick stage is chosen, the winning player can switch characters before the next game begins. This opens up a layer of strategy that goes beyond simple stage selection. If a player is willing to put in the work and develop a secondary character, they can neutralize bad matchups or flip an opponent's counterpick against him. Suddenly, what looked like an unavoidable weakness becomes another opportunity for adaptation and creativity. The conventional pairing for Fox players has always been Sheik, another top tier who performs well against characters who benefit from Final Destination like Marth and Peach. On paper, this matchup makes perfect sense. Sheik's grab confirms, range, combo game, and edge guards line up beautifully in those matchups. The problem is that Sheik is also one of the most common characters in competitive Melee. Any seasoned player will have logged countless hours preparing for her. Simply locking in Sheik isn't enough. To make the counterpick effective, you need to dedicate serious time to building a Sheik with strong fundamentals and a refined punish game. For players who aren't genuinely invested in the character, the level of commitment just may not be worth it. But there were always whispers. Dedicated Link mains speculated that his wall of projectiles and disjointed hitboxes might just have some hidden potential, especially against characters who thrive on less aggressive playstyles. With a flurry of projectiles and high-range sword swings, Link had the tools to control the pace of the match against characters who typically specialize in maintaining it themselves. By forcing these characters into uncomfortable positions, it was possible that a good enough Link could swing these matchups in their favor. But although there was the occasional showcase of the idea in practice, no one had truly proven it at the absolute top level of tournament play. That was until Aklo started to take his Link a bit more seriously. Looking for a way to discourage opponents from counterpicking Final Destination, Aklo started selecting Link specifically for that stage in certain matchups. What was once considered a guaranteed winning counterpick suddenly became a stage of unfamiliarity, where opponents found themselves forced into long, grinding battles of attrition against a character they barely understood. Some saw this as simply a clever way to deny opponents valuable matchup data in a game Aklo was supposed to lose anyways. But Aklo didn't merely just make his opponent's life harder, he started winning. He won enough that players began avoiding Final Destination entirely, not because they feared Fox, but because they feared the Link counterpick. Still, most people considered it a niche trick, a clever gimmick more than a real strategy, at least until Aklo finally got the chance to showcase the Link on a big stage. Enter Redemption Rumble 2022, a major invitational tournament held in New York. Aklo is projected to do well and place 5th, but that's not his goal. As a true competitor and NYC native, he wants to defend his city against the invading talent. After some preliminary matches to determine seeding, a final bracket of 16 players is put together to determine who will win the final tournament of the year.
I feel like you just took like 3 straight or something.
But why?
Okay.
I was wrong. I feel like this played.
She still got life. 59% of
We
her
got it!
It's over!
It's over!
The first
Aklo, clutch it for New York City!
Aklo fights through 2 close sets in winners and lands himself in winners finals against the then ranked number 4 player Cody Schwab. The two face off in a Fox Ditto, and in a massive upset, Aklo takes it 3-1, sending Cody to losers, where SoCal's own Kadoran, the second best Marth in the world, is waiting. Cody had already beaten Kadoran earlier in the tournament and quickly goes up 2-0 again. But Kadoran locks in and mounts a dramatic reverse 3-0 to stay alive. Suddenly, the invader from SoCal is fighting his way into grand finals. The stage is set. New York's hometown hero versus one of Melee's deadliest Marths from a rival region. Can Aklo defend the city, or will Kadoran steal the tournament out from under him?
Just say say West Coast.
West Coast.
Oh my God, he's going Link. Oh, you guys are fucked.
Aklo starts the set by testing out Link. He keeps pace throughout the match, but gets caught by a spike on his last stock and drops game 1. He switches back to Fox for game 2, but gets edge guarded on his last stock again. Game 3 ends the same way. Fox off stage, Marth's sword, lights out. Kodorin takes the first set 3-0, but because he is coming from the loser's side of a double elimination bracket, he must win another set to win the entire tournament. Aklo still has life, but Kodorin's punish game on Fox looks absolutely suffocating, and the momentum is firmly on SoCal's side. Things were not looking incredibly optimistic for Aklo unless he could quickly change the pace. After taking some time to think carefully about his next move, Aklo would choose to start Link for set 2. The first game becomes a grueling 6-minute war on Pokemon Stadium, with both players constantly trading the lead. On the final stock, Aklo is launched high into the air, a nightmare scenario for most players, since Marth can shark with up airs underneath, but Aklo uses one of Link's unique X factors. He pulls a bomb, drops it below him, and baits Kodorin straight into it. This converts instantly into Link's iconic down air finisher. The crowd explodes.
Wait. West Coast, yeah.
Oh!
Bomb down there.
As they queue up game 2, Aklo tells Kodorin that he won't be switching to Fox this time. Game 2 begins with Aklo taking a very strong lead for the first half. However, Kodorin is able to lock in and even out the pace. It comes down to the last stock again, where Kodorin lands a tight tech chase and sends Link off stage, closing the game. Southern California hecklers in the crowd begin to rally, trying to rattle Aklo. Kodorin is now determined to not just win, but make a statement by slaying the hometown hero. Aklo takes his time to think again. Many players would crumble here, convinced the Link pick was just a gimmick that fell apart once the opponent adapted. Instead, Aklo would do the unthinkable. He counterpicks Final Destination, the same stage notorious for destroying Fox mains everywhere. It's a bold move, and although Kodorin steamrolls him by taking game 3 with a 2-stock lead, it shows Aklo's mentality in the situation. He believes in himself, and he's willing to flip the script, experiment, and try something completely unconventional, even in the most high-stakes situation. The set count was now 2-1. If Kodorin can win one more game, the tournament is his. Because Kodorin already won on FD, he can't pick it again, removing Marth's most oppressive counterpick. It would be the most obvious time for Aklo to lock in Fox. Instead, he doubles down on Link. He picks Battlefield, the same stage he lost on earlier, with everything on the line. Game 4 becomes another tense back and forth and reaches yet another last stock scenario. After applying pressure with bombs and boomerangs, Aklo clips a poorly positioned Marth with Link's lingering neutral air and then finishes the conversion with a perfectly timed spin attack. If Aklo loses now, he lets his region down and drops the entire tournament. But if he wins, he becomes the first player to ever win a major utilizing Link, with his beloved New York there to witness it. Both players recognize the stakes and take a moment to collect themselves. New York City comes alive in an uproar, and after some heckling, Kodorin taunts them back with a middle finger of his own. The final game begins with Kodorin gaining an early percent lead. Aklo uses every defensive trick he can to survive, but eventually drops the first stock. With momentum on his side, Kodorin retreats to the ledge, trying to bait Aklo into overextending. But Aklo doesn't bite. Instead, he pulls off an incredibly niche projectile trick. He throws a boomerang over Marth's head, and as it returns, tosses a bomb into it so the returning boomerang kills its momentum and drops the bomb straight toward the ledge. Completely unprepared, Kodorin gets clipped off stage, then hit again as he tries to recover. Scrambling to regain center stage, Kodorin ledge dashes, where Aklo is waiting for him with a clean arrow, sending him flying. The crowd loses their minds.
The first arrow! The first arrow hits! And it gets him a kill!
The arrow works.
The first arrow all set to hit!
That was an arrow to the knee.
I told you when it hit!
That was one of the greatest edge guards I've ever seen.
Where some may have lost hope, Aklo found a way to stay in the game in the most unconventional way possible. Now with the momentum on his side, Aklo is able to maintain the pace and keep Kodorin on his back foot for the rest of the set. After whittling him down with zoning, Aklo lands one final bomb toss into Link's signature down air.
That could be it! And that down air! With the bomb down air! New York City! This is your hero! We have Foxes, but we have a Link too!
Utilizing the hero of time, Aklo was able to win the tournament and end the year as the hero of New York. The people erupt into a frenzy of celebration, while the SoCal commentators are left flabbergasted at what they just witnessed.
Talk to me, brother.
Spreading the news. I'm leaving tonight. I wanna be a part of it. New York, New York. Let's fucking go!
Acklo's victory with Link would generate buzz around the greater community. Some saw it as a genuine shift in the meta, evidence that maybe Link had more utility than the tier list ever gave him credit for. Others dismissed it as a spectacle. A fun, chaotic upset caused more by Kadoran being unprepared and rattled by a rowdy New York than by Link's actual viability. The community was split, and to prove his Link wasn't a one-off miracle, Acklo needed an even bigger win. That chance came in 2024 at Luminosity Makes Move Miami. In the winner's semis, he found himself facing the ultimate test, Zain, the best Marth in the world, who also happens to be the #1 ranked player of that year and one of the greatest melee competitors of all time. The two had played plenty of times before, and although Zain consistently came out on top, the gap was closing. At Riptide 2024, just a month earlier, their set had gone to Game 5 last stock, with Acklo committing to Link for the entire set. Having victory so close, Acklo entered Luminosity Makes Moves Miami, determined to finally pull off the impossible. The set opens on Final Destination. What was once considered a brutally Marth favorite stage had now become a neutral starter between them. Early in the match, Acklo lands a hookshot grab, converts down throw and a back air, reads Zain's spot dodge after a tech chase, and finishes the sequence with a perfectly placed bomb that cuts off recovery options and forces Marth back on stage for the KO. The tone is set. After slowly chipping Zain down, Acklo takes game 1 comfortably. Zain counterpicks Yoshi's, and Acklo switches to Fox to capitalize on the small stage and low blast zones. Despite a promising showcase by Acklo's Fox, Zain maintains a steady lead throughout, and closes the game with an up throw into up B. Acklo returns to Link for game 3, and picks Pokemon Stadium. The two trade early blows, with Zain taking a slight lead, but Acklo clawing it back through a series of hard reads. Zain responds with a barrage of fairs that push Link off stage, finishing with a massive back air. Acklo keeps fighting from behind until he catches Zain's tech option, forcing yet another last stock scenario. Sitting at high percent, he slowly narrows the gap, and after shield dropping through Marth's up tilt with a clean nair, he converts into a finishing blow before Zain can escape. Once again, Acklo is one game away from history. Game 4 begins on Fountain of Dreams. Zain builds early pressure, knocking Link off stage and forcing Acklo to deploy his grappling hook. Zain drops a blow to finish him off using his own recovery as an attack, but misjudges Link's reel-in timing. Acklo is able to snap back to the ledge first and steal the opening stock.
Acklo's mix up there because Zain did. Oh my god!
Just tricked him.
What is going on right now?
Bamboozled him.
This mistake would prove incredibly costly for Zain. Acklo was able to maintain the high percent and zap away another one of Zain's stocks before losing his first, pushing the lead even further. Living to absurdly high percents, Acklo extends his lead while Zain is forced to win neutral repeatedly just to keep up. Even as Zain stabilizes, Acklo pushes him to his final stock. Catching Marth trapped on a platform, he racks up 65% before losing his third stock. From here, Acklo sets the tone with projectile pressure, but gets knocked off stage into a dangerous position. In a life or death scramble, he techs Zain's hit on the wall, reverses the situation with back air, and takes the center stage. With one final read on Zain's drift, Acklo swings, sending Marth flying. A moment of silence, and then...
And that's gonna be it! Oh, that's it! He actually does it!
Oh my goodness, 3-1 over Zain with Link.
Acklo had beaten one of the greatest players to ever touch Melee, and he did it not with Fox, but with a low-tier secondary. Zain, being the fierce competitor that he is, regrouped and clawed his way back to losers, eventually winning the tournament in the Grand Finals rematch. But to prove the win wasn't a fluke, Acklo struck again just 2 weeks later at Dope Park on the Grass 2024, this time committing to Link even more confidently.
Got the #1 player losing to Link.
Yeah, what's happening in 2024
Hey, I stand
Melee?
corrected, Acklo. I don't know, Nick. Just keep playing Link, bro. Go crazy. I mean, shit.
The competitive waters of Melee are always shifting, but Acklo's victory sent a clear message. His Link wasn't a cheap counterpick. It was a legitimate tournament threat, a character top players would now have to study, prepare for, and respect. That being said, Acklo was a through and through Fox main, and the Link was mainly designated for specific matchups and counterpicks. But what happens when a similarly unutilized character begins to emerge onto the scene as a major tournament threat across the board? For most of Melee's history, Donkey Kong has been seen as a true low tier. Even in the most recent tier list from 2021, DK sits at 16th place in C tier, a placement generally reserved for characters considered unviable for ever winning a major. However, DK's toolkit tells a much more nuanced story. Donkey Kong's game plan revolves around a grappler style approach. Despite his massive frame, he's surprisingly quick. and using long, lanky hitboxes, he can control space and threaten anyone who approaches. His up B isn't just a recovery either, it doubles as a fast out of shield option that can swat opponents away and steal stocks at surprisingly low percents. And once DK lands a grab, everything changes. He can transition into his most unique X factor, the cargo throw. Unlike the rest of the cast, who stay locked in place during a grab, DK can hoist opponents onto his back, walk across the stage, and decide exactly where to launch them. This opens the door wide open for all kinds of setups. For example, he can carry opponents into optimal positions for regrabs, carry them directly to the ceiling for a kill confirm, or even jump off stage for a stock trade. Pairing cargo throw with his powerful moves like up air, fair, up B, and the iconic wind up giant punch, DK has the tools to deliver massive punishes off grab and end stocks absurdly early. So with a terrifying punish game and one of the scariest grabs in Melee, why has DK been dismissed for so long? While DK is explosive after landing a grab, his neutral and defense have long been viewed as his deal breakers. His shield is one of the worst in the game, shrinking quickly and failing to cover his tall hurt box, leaving him vulnerable to shield pokes. Once in disadvantaged state, Donkey Kong's large body turns him into combo food for nearly the entire cast. And although his recovery travels decently far horizontally, it's extremely limited vertically and easily exploitable, making him prone to early percent gimps. The challenge for a DK player then becomes this: can you overcome Donkey Kong's shortcomings to land an opening? And when you get that opening, can you hit hard enough to make it count? While most players wrote the character off, a handful of dedicated DK specialists saw something more. In a 2019 video on his channel, former top 50 Marth player Ryuichi laid out the case for Donkey Kong's true potential. While acknowledging DK's flaws, he argued that the character had enough hidden merit to compete at high levels, but it would require creativity, technical mastery, and an exceptional ability to read the opponent. One more major advancement in the overall meta of Melee would come into play for the Kong. Although punish games have gotten much stronger, one of the biggest evolutions has actually been with the refinement of advanced defensive mechanics. DI and STI have always been core staples of the game that continually improve, but in recent years, players have optimized another tool to extreme levels: crouch canceling. By holding down before they get hit, a player can dramatically reduce knockback and hit stun, staying grounded instead of being launched, and sometimes even turning an opponent's attack into their combo starter. And because DK is one of the heaviest characters in the game, he can utilize crouch cancel at much higher percents than most of the cast. Suddenly, the weaknesses that once doomed DK start to look like opportunities. With modern movement, refined combo theory, and one of the scariest crouch cancel games in Melee, DK might finally have the tools to erase stocks and flip once unwinnable matchups on their head. Nowhere was this new vision of Donkey Kong more visible than in Leffen vs Ringler during pools at Mainstage 2022. Ringler, a SoCal Donkey Kong specialist, was a respected regional threat, usually placing within the top 20 of the SoCal power rankings, but almost no one expected him to stand a chance against his opponent, Leffen, one of the greatest Melee players of all time, the first to defeat all 5 gods, an EVO champion, and a former number 2 of the world. Game 1 starts as most people expected. Leffen takes a massive lead, while Ringler struggles to land a grab. But 2 stocks in, Ringler finally gets his hands on Fox, literally. He throws Leffen into a brutal DK combo that sends him tumbling downward, and before Leffen can rebuild the lead, Ringler uses up B out of shield to steal an early stock and even things up. Sensing Leffen's unfamiliarity with the matchup, Ringler leans hard into DK's strengths, repeatedly using up B as a powerful anti-air. The match tightens until both players reach last stock. Ringler finds a grab, converts it into a huge combo to erase the percent deficit, and in a scramble at high percent, Leffen throws out a desperate up smash. Ringler punishes this instantly with a cargo throw into an up smash of his own and takes game 1. The crowd starts paying attention. Invigorated, Ringler opens game 2 with another early grab into massive combo, and then catches Leffen off guard with yet another up B to steal the stock. Leffen begins to crack under the pressure, getting grabbed repeatedly and forced into scramble situations that he's unable to win. Ringler takes game 2 with a comfortable 2 stock, making one of the greatest Fox players to ever touch a GameCube controller look like an average player at the SoCal local. About to be subject to one of the biggest upsets of his career, Leffen abandons Fox and switches to Sheik, a secondary he usually reserved for the Marth matchup, but Sheik DK is notoriously difficult for the Ape due to chain grabs and lethal edge guards. Game 3 starts close, but Leffen adapts quickly. He tightens his neutral, exploits DK's weaknesses, and takes the game. Game 4 becomes a nail-biting last stock scenario, but Leffen clutches a huge edgeguard to force a Game 5. With momentum fully shifted, Leffen now has a comfortable read on Ringler's game plan. Game 5 ends with a decisive 3-stock. He had pulled off the reverse 3-0, narrowly avoiding a historic upset. Still, the message was loud and clear. Even though Ringler ultimately lost, the entire community witnessed the explosive potential of Donkey Kong against top-level talent, something many had never truly considered. And little did they know, Ringler wasn't alone. Behind the scenes, more and more players were beginning to experiment with Donkey Kong, and as their findings surfaced, their results started to follow. Florida player Akira was originally a Marth main, but after seeing surprising success with Donkey Kong, especially against opponents his Marth struggled with, he made the bold decision to pivot fully into DK. Akira grinded Donkey Kong on net play, steadily refining the character's punish game and movement. His efforts paid off. He began taking notable wins and making deep bracket runs at stacked online events. When offline tournaments returned, Akira proved his results weren't a fluke. He secured several strong placements and earned himself a spot on Melee's top 100, debuting at number 90 in 2023, and then he continued climbing, reaching number 37 in the summer top 50 rankings of 2024. On the other side of the country, a Michigan player who goes by many names but will refer to as Quang was creating shockwaves of his own. Formerly a Fox and Ice Climbers player known as Quang or Tedpoles, he made a bold decision to switch fully to Donkey Kong and change his tag. Quang tore through Michigan brackets, winning locals, climbing power rankings, and putting up an impressive 65th at the Big House 10, one of Melee's most iconic tournament series. Through 2023, he continued to post strong results at Super Majors, including 49th at Genesis 9 and 33rd at Gommel 2023, with notable wins over Bobby Big Balls and Sunsei. DK was beginning to pick up steam across multiple players, so much so that a viral 2023 documentary was even released chronicling some of the advancements in the DK meta. But 2024 was the year that Kong truly came alive. At Gommel X, Quang shocked the bracket by defeating top Sheik player Spark to qualify for winner's side top 32. A matchup that was once considered borderline unwinnable for DK was suddenly on the table thanks to the character's evolving neutral, improved combo theory, and modern crouch cancel meta. He followed that win by defeating KJH and finished 13th, the highest DK placement at a super major in years. And unbelievably, he wasn't the only Donkey Kong doing damage at that same event. Another DK player, Bing, pulled one of the biggest upsets in Melee history by defeating Cody Schwab, the #1 ranked player of 2023. The set happened so early that it wasn't even on stream. The only footage is shaky cell phone video captured by stunned spectators. Cody, projected to win the entire event, had been seeded first. Bing was seeded 64th, not even expected to make it into the top 32 phase of the bracket. After going into a tense last stock last hit situation, Bing was able to capitalize on a missed edgeguard by Cody and pull off a win with an upset factor of 11, one of the largest Melee has ever seen. Tournament players were beginning to understand that Donkey Kong wasn't just a meme pick, he was becoming a serious threat. And with Quang's continuously deep bracket runs, and even a regional win at Bodied 7, it was only a matter of time before another top player would fall to the Kong. Quang would get his opportunity at Supernova 2024. After dropping a close set to Joshman in winners, Quang went on a rampage in the losers bracket, eventually earning a high-stakes match against Moki, one of the best players of modern Melee and the year-end #4 in the world. The two had never played in bracket before, and it wasn't entirely clear whether Moki had any experience against DK, but within the first 3 stocks of game 1, it became very obvious. Moki looked unfamiliar with the matchup.
But it was still enough.
That is gross.
Sweet, sour, anything worse for DK.
That's
on
right.
the end of those combos. But Carl was saying how much.
Oh my God.
Everything
Wait,
just worked.
he's gonna
This is four stock on Moki.
The freshman
This is insane.
Quang exploited openings, forced awkward positions, and took the early lead. Moki was able to adjust and regain some control in game 2, holding a steady lead through the first half of the match. But that momentum shattered the moment Quang landed a string of up airs into a fully charged giant punch, suddenly flipping the game on its head. Moments later, another grab led to a devastating combo, and Moki's stock evaporated.
For jump cargo up throw up air.
So apparently that regrab isn't quite true. You have to do an up
Right.
air in order to combo off of that from the DK side. But that's
Dude.
what is going on right now?
Dude, I don't know how to feel about this.
This is insane.
What was once a comfortable lead had become a fight for tournament life. Moki was finally able to get on the board in the third game. After 2 even stocks of back and forth exchanges, Moki finally pulled ahead, using tight shine pressure into a roll read and closing the game with a clean shine gimp. He stayed alive, but now faced one of DK's scariest counter picks, Final Destination. Earlier we discussed how Final Destination is used by Marth and Peach players, but Donkey Kong benefits from it too. With no platforms for Fox to tech or escape onto, DK's combo tree becomes frighteningly linear if he can land the grab. So that was the question. Could Kwang find an opening against one of the fastest, most technical Foxes in modern Melee?
On you, I can stay back a little bit, but
Undershoot though, that's real rough. That's just, you can just wait right here, find back air, pretty much anything. Oh, it was close. Yeah, I was wondering if like...
The set comes down to a last stock scramble. Moki, desperate to close it out, tries to force a shine into up smash across the stage. Kwang blocks the out smash just in time, wave dashes out a shield, and despite DK's notoriously limited approach options, he calls out Moki's panic movement. While most players would try to throw out their fastest move in that situation, Kwang instead opts for a down smash. Traditionally seen as a laggy option, its built-in delay actually makes it the perfect timing to catch Fox's spot dodge. And with Fox launched into the blast zone, another Donkey Kong player has eliminated one of the best players in the world from the tournament.
Into the soul that Moki's spot dodging, that covers spot dodge and forward roll. That's it.
wow, that is insane.
Oh.
At this point, something bigger was happening. Across different regions and multiple major events, DK players are suddenly breaking brackets, taking sets off top talent, and forcing the community to reevaluate everything they thought they knew about the character. It was a genuine shift in Melee's metagame, but among this new wave of rising Kongs, one player would push the character further than anyone before him, taking the Big Ape to heights no one thought were possible. Junebug was no stranger to top level Smash. Having been active since 2012, he earned rankings across multiple Smash titles, including Brawl, Smash 4, but his greatest early achievements came in Project M. From 2014 to 2015, Junebug tore through PM brackets, putting up dominant results that many cite as making him the best player in the world for 2015. When a formal ranking was established in 2016, he debuted at an incredible number 5. After conquering Project M's upper echelon, Junebug shifted some of his focus back to Melee, maining Sheik. And just as he had done in PM, he climbed quickly, rising through the stacked MDVA region and earning top 50 spots in Melee's global top 100. However, in the early 2020s, Junebug began pivoting more of his energy toward content creation. One of his most popular video series focused on dissecting Melee's lower tier characters, breaking down their design strengths, their flaws, then comparing them to their buffed Project M counterparts. To gather data and footage for these videos, Junebug didn't just theorycraft, he learned the characters and tested his findings in real tournaments. One of the most memorable examples was Double Down 2022, when he entered the event playing exclusively Dr. Mario. Despite using a character who was widely considered a lost cause at this point in the meta, Junebug made one of the greatest Dr. Mario runs in Melee history, reaching 13th place, before DQing himself so he could attend a magic show in Vegas. After making his video on the Mario Brothers, Junebug eventually shifted his attention to Donkey Kong, and what began as research for another character analysis video would soon become something much bigger than even he expected. After playing the character at MDVA Locals, it didn't take long for people to realize just how good Junebug's Donkey Kong actually was. MDVA is one of the most competitive regions in Melee, and Junebug was suddenly taking sets off regional players and climbing the ranks fast. Before long, he was the #1 player in his sub-region of Richmond, all while playing a character most people still viewed as a novelty. His early tournament results only added fuel to the fire. After making deep bracket runs at regional events, and securing a surprising 17th place finish at Collision 2023, the community began to wonder, was it only a matter of time before Junebug won a regional with solo Donkey Kong? Their hot streak didn't stop. They would attend Xanadu Legends 500 a month later, which was a stacked Maryland tournament featuring multiple top 100 caliber players. Junebug ran through the bracket and won the entire event with DK. And throughout the rest of 2023, Junebug kept racking up wins, dominating locals, pushing deep into majors, and even landing an impressive 13th place finish at the Big House 11. By the end of 2023, Junebug was ranked number 2 in all of MDVA, and number 40 on the end-of-year global top 100. Like his fellow Kong pioneers, Junebug hadn't really been playing the character for all that long, so going into 2024, people were curious on how Junebug would push Donkey Kong to new heights. Junebug would start the year off strong at Patchwork 2024, a large North Carolina regional stacked with talent. Among the competitors was Salt, a top 15 level player and one of the fastest improving, most electric Falcons in the scene. Junebug fought his way to winner's semis in top 8, where he faced Salt for the first time. Their set ended in a 3-1 victory for Salt, sending Junebug into the loser's bracket with a long climb ahead of him. But he wasn't done. Junebug tore through the loser's side and earned his rematch against Salt in Grand Finals. In a display of adaptation and control, he reset the bracket with a 3-1 victory, then followed it up with a dominant 3-0 to win the entire tournament. Not only had Donkey Kong won another major regional, but this was the best one so far. Whispers across the community grew louder. If DK could win regionals this convincingly, then what potential did he have on Melee's biggest stages? This brings us to Supernova 2024, a tournament series so prestigious that it is deemed a super major, drawing massive attendance and elite talent from all around the world. Junebug, after his promising run with Donkey Kong, was projected to finish 16th, a respectable placement, but nobody expected him to go much further. In fact, expectations were so modest that Junebug had already been booked as a commentator for the top 8 slot. But then the bracket started. After tearing through pools and securing winner's side of top 64, Junebug won 2 more sets in a row, eventually finding himself 1 match away from making the top 8 stage. His opponent? Axe, a veteran legend and one of the most iconic players in Melee history.
I don't know. I'm figuring it out too. Axe is trying to figure it out. That his game 1 on the board. Hey, you're getting up aired.
That's a grab.
That's
that
a
could
grab
be it.
at kill percent. There we go.
June
There
up
we
2-0. Grab will do it. Gets it.
Is this it? Is this it? And he does it. 3-0.
Junebug has just confirmed winner side top 8 at Supernova 2024 as Donkey Kong.
Guys, we need a backup commentator. June was supposed to commentate that.
Not only was this another generational win for Donkey Kong and one of the best performances of Junebug's Melee career thus far, but it meant that for the first time, Donkey Kong would be on the big stage in top 8 at a super major. His first opponent of top 8 would be Joshman, a beloved Australian competitor, a top 10 level talent, and arguably one of the fastest rising stars in the game. Having already defeated many of Melee's greats, and currently being on a career-defining run of his own, Joshman was hungry for his first super major title. The only thing standing in his way was a giant ape. Game 1 opens with both players trading blows, racking up damage quickly and taking stocks off each other in an explosive fashion. But after landing a massive combo in Joshman's 3rd stock and punishing an unsafe landing with an anti-air up B, Junebug secures a solid lead. Moments later, he grabs Fox again and takes full advantage of Fountain of Dreams' temporary lack of platforms. He chains the regrab into a string of up airs, finishes with a meaty forward air that robs Fox of his jump, and seals Game 1 with a clean edgeguard.
Game 1 going over to Junebug.
Game 1 goes to DK, but Joshman isn't shaken. He comes into Game 2 on Yoshi's story swinging, escaping an early combo and taking a quick kill off the top. Junebug answers back, evening the stocks. With another grab into up air to launch the Fox, Junebug executes a perfect movement sequence by performing a turnaround shield drop back air to get the Fox off stage, tanking the Fox side B using his crouch cancel, and then finishing off the stock with a fully charged giant punch.
Big read from Junebug. Yeah, the kill. The crowd is going absolutely wild.
Junebug now holds the percent lead, and after another crouch cancel grab punishes Joshman's incoming nair, he juggles Fox across the stage before ending the stock with a cargo throw into up smash. Josh mounts a comeback and claws the game into a tense last stock situation, until Junebug finds one more grab.
No! My God! Junebug is up 2-0 in winner semis.
1 game away from making history.
Winners
Junebug.
finals is striking distance for Junebug.
And there is a reason why he's not sitting in this commentary booth.
Game 3 starts with a huge opening. Junebug lands a grab and converts it into a full stock combo, taking the lead while barely getting touched. Joshman fires back immediately, racking up damage and gimping DK with a clean shine spike. The scramble continues until, within a minute, Junebug deletes 2 Fox stocks with devastating giant punch conversions.
From 2, he is so good at this, and let me tell you, as someone who plays him.
I pointed that out last game as well.
He's a Chad! Oh my God!
It's last stock.
Junebug is 1 stock away.
Junebug now holds a massive lead. After landing another grab, he tacks on a quick 76% and sets up what could be the tournament-ending combo until...
Out with the bag! It's not enough, but he's laughing about it. He's
Gets a
laughing
little
about
antsy.
it.
Suddenly, Joshman is alive. On the brink of defeat, Josh locks in. He blazes across the stage with lightning-fast inputs, piling on damage and pushing Junebug into kill percent. Now on his back foot and watching Pokemon Stadium begin to transform, Junebug retreats and charges a giant punch. Joshman races in, trying to punish the windup, but gets caught in his movement, and with one final press of the B button,
Waited out for the. Oh! No way! You gotta be kidding me! Oh my God! Junebug takes it! Junebug takes it!
The crowd erupts, the commentators lose their minds, and the caster who expected Junebug to be sitting beside him calling top 8 is now in tears watching his friend rewrite Melee history.
The best Donkey Kong player in the world to ever do it, Junebug, will be making history with a guaranteed 3rd place at Supernova.
Junebug would finish his run at Supernova in 3rd place, the greatest performance of his Melee career, and as of this recording, the single best placement ever achieved by a solo Donkey Kong player. The story of Donkey Kong is fascinating. A character once relegated to low-tier side events had suddenly become a meta-shaking threat, pushed forward by multiple players who dropped their mains to chase the Kong's hidden potential. But not every character has the luxury of a group of specialists refining tech together. Sometimes, a character's entire relevance doesn't begin with a collective effort at all. It starts with one player, someone who single-handedly pushes the character forward and rewrites public perception to inspire a new generation to follow in their footsteps. Pikachu is a true rush-down fighter. With quick movement, a tiny hurtbox, and rapid burst options, they thrive on darting in and out of range and then striking when the time is right. Their special recovery move gives them a unique utility. Zip across the stage using Quick Attack, a burst movement option unlike anything else. This recovery is one of the fastest and most versatile in Melee, making them incredibly difficult to edgeguard, while simultaneously being able to leave the stage and edgeguard comfortably themselves. Now layer in Pikachu's fixed knockback up air, a complex move that contains multiple trajectories depending on the tail placement. Land the downward angle of the hitbox, and Pikachu becomes one of the deadliest characters off stage, capable of stealing stocks in seconds. On stage, Pikachu has another signature weapon, the strongest uncharged up smash in the entire game. It comes out quickly, hits hard, and sends vertically, giving Pikachu incredible kill power if he can find the opening. Utilizing the upwards angle of the tail chop, you can link together some incredibly devastating punishes. On paper, Pikachu's toolkit sounds like the recipe for a top tier character, but in reality, the iconic yellow mouse has seen sparse usage throughout high-level Melee. Historically labeled as a mini fox, Pikachu has long been viewed as a character with some solid tools reminiscent of their space animal counterpart, but without the frame data or strong move pool that make Fox overwhelmingly strong. Pikachu's Achilles heel is their stubbiness. They're small and have one of the tiniest grab ranges in the entire cast. On top of that, Pikachu deals some of the lowest damage per hit in Melee, so even though many of their moves have strong knockback, they still have to win multiple neutral interactions to rack up enough damage and secure a KO, and that's where the real risk lies. Pikachu's whole game plan involves hurling themselves directly at the opponent. If their approaches aren't safe and deliberate, they get stuffed out, traded with, or outright punished. Every burst forward has to be calculated, or Pikachu will lose the exchange. This becomes especially difficult against Melee's floatier characters. A character like Fox has guaranteed launchers and consistent combo starters on these archetypes, but Pikachu doesn't have that luxury. Instead, a Pikachu player often has to rely on reads, conditioning, and slow attrition to win matchups where they lack reliable finishers. Looking at early Melee tier list, Pikachu's placement fluctuated between near bottom and low mid tier, but the consensus remained the same: Pikachu would never win a major. While a few notable Pikachu players existed, such as Pikachad and Anther, for most of Melee's early history, Pikachu was simply just not considered a real tournament threat. That was until a young Arizona player broke into the scene. Axe attended his first Melee tournament in 2006 at his high school. He instantly fell in love with the game and soon began entering tournaments across Arizona, eventually earning a spot in the state's power rankings. But his true breakout wouldn't come until 2009 at the first ever Genesis, then at the time, the largest Melee tournament in history. In the set that put him on the greater community's radar, Axe faced J-Man, one of the best Fox players in the country at the time. Backed by his rowdy Arizona compatriots, Axe clutched out a 2-1 victory in one of the event's biggest upsets. Axe would follow up his performance shortly after. In early 2010 at Pound 4, he'd placed 17th, defeating Dr. Peepee, who later became known as PPMD and was cemented as one of the 5 gods of Melee. Later that same year, Axe made Melee history with a 5th place finish at Apex 2010, tearing through multiple East Coast veterans before finally being double eliminated by the legendary Armada. And while some continued to write off Pikachu as a novelty pick or a gimmick, Axe kept winning. He continued making deep bracket runs and collecting top player wins, only being stopped by the legendary 5 gods of Melee. By the time new tier list arrived reflecting the current state of the meta, Pikachu had risen from his 2010 low-tier placement to a solid mid-tier by 2013, a rise that could almost single-handedly be attributed to Axe. In this era of Melee, it had a dedicated competitive scene, but as a 10-year-old game from 2001, it remained relatively niche within the wider world of esports. That began to change in 2013. After a community-driven campaign to earn a spot at EVO 2013, Melee players raised $94,000 for breast cancer research, out-fundraising every other gaming community and securing their place on the biggest fighting game stage in the world. It was a massive moment for Melee, and the community, determined to put on a show, delivered one of the most hyped tournaments that set the record for the most watched fighting game in history. Shortly after, a fan-made documentary created by VGBootcamp, better known as Samox, was uploaded to YouTube. The Smash Brothers, a 9-part, multiple hours long series, chronicled the early history of competitive Melee, and it went mega viral, pulling in millions of views. Through the documentary, huge numbers of gamers from around the world were discovering the competitive side of Melee, watching streams, attending locals, and breathing new life into a game that was once thought to be fading. It was in this Melee renaissance where players like Axe suddenly had the chance to showcase their talent to a massive audience. 2014 would be the year Axe finally got his moment. Up to this point in his career, he had often been gatekept by Melee's 5 gods, the legendary players who dominated nearly every major tournament. But at MLG Anaheim 2014, Axe put together one of the greatest breakout runs in Pikachu history. The event featured an exclusive group stage system, where pre-qualified players earned an immediate spot in the bracket. Axe didn't meet the requirements, which meant he had to enter through the last chance open bracket, a brutal gauntlet where only a handful would survive. Axe tore through it and made it into the group stage, where he held his own against elite competition, and even scored a win over Mewtwo King, one of the 5 gods and a player famous for dissecting mid-tier characters. But the real shot came in the championship bracket. Facing Hungrybox, another god and the world's best Jigglypuff player, Axe pulled off a massive upset in a matchup widely considered to be one of Pikachu's absolute worst. When the game-ending hit landed, the crowd were at their feet. Thanks to his aggressive playstyle, unconventional character choice, and genuinely lovable personality, Axe was quickly becoming a fan favorite within the Melee community, but his growing reputation wouldn't stay contained for long. That summer, at Melee's return to EVO in 2014, Axe delivered one of the most iconic moments in the tournament series history. Having once again broken the record for tournament attendance, EVO 2014 was set to be the biggest and most competitive Melee tournament yet. After making his way through pools, Axe would defeat legends of the game Hugs, J666, and Chudat before losing a close 2-1 set to Mango, the previous EVO champion who would end up winning the entire tournament again. Axe would then defeat Plup in the losers bracket, earning himself a top 8 spot for Championship Sunday on the big stage. On the other side of the bracket was Silent Wolf, who despite dropping down to the losers bracket relatively early, clawed his way back through losers and into top 8, even upsetting Leffen in the process. Because of EVO's unconventional rule set, the first round of top 8 was played as a best of 3. Axe struck first, taking game 1 with a clean 2-stock lead and sealing Silent Wolf's fate with an early Gimp. But Silent Wolf fired right back on Pokemon Stadium. Despite Axe controlling the early game, Silent Wolf mounted a dominant comeback, barely getting touched on his 3rd stock and closing it out with an up smash read into a taunt. Now tied 1-1, Axe had a critical choice to make. His tournament life depended on picking the right counter pick. Under normal circumstances, Pikachu players love taking Fox to Final Destination thanks to Pikachu's devastating chain grab on the stage, but in a best of 3, Silent Wolf is allowed to bat in one stage, and FD was the obvious choice. With the strongest option gone, Axe turns to one of the most debated stages in Melee's history. Fountain of Dreams is polarizing. Its shifting platforms and tight space make it awkward for many players, but it was here that Axe would deliver one of the rarest and most astonishing feats ever witnessed in high-level Melee. Despite the large timer at the top of the screen, a standard Melee match almost never uses the full 8 minutes. Depending on the characters and pace of play, most games last somewhere between 2 and 6 minutes. And while it's theoretically possible to obliterate someone in a mere amount of seconds, seeing that level of dominance at the absolute top level of play is extremely uncommon. It's like watching someone run a sub 4-minute mile. Technically achievable, but only under the perfect mix of skill and circumstance. It was a rare sighting, but with everything on the line in the losers bracket, a perfect storm was brewing. Axe opens up game 3 with an immediate up air launcher and converts it into a 0 to death, taking Silent Wolf's first stock without taking any damage himself. Silent Wolf tries to regain composure, but after approaching with a down air, he finds himself wrapped in Pikachu's tiny arms, who proceeds to toss Fox off stage with a back throw. A perfectly placed Thunder Jolt snipes the side B, and Axe dives off stage to finish the kill in a way only Pikachu can. Another 0 to death. Silent will finally muster some offense, but after getting reversed by a tail chop and sent off stage once more, he's dragged to the depths of Fountain of Dreams and finished with a down air. 3 stocks gone. With only about 10 seconds left before the clock even hits 1 minute, Axe zips to the ledge to wait out Fox's invincibility. Silent Wolf retreats to the far side of the stage, trying to reset, but Pikachu hunts him down. An up air sends Fox across the stage. Another one catches Fox's jump with a spiking hitbox of Pikachu's tail, and... Draped in the flag of his home state, the crowd erupts as Axe pops off. On the biggest melee stage to date, Axe had just 4-stocked his opponent in under a minute. Raising his Pikachu in the air, he knows he's won the people, a moment instantly etched into competitive gaming history. Throughout the mid-2010s, Melee was ruled by the 5 Gods, a legendary group of players who won nearly every major tournament and for years could only really be reliably defeated by one another. But as the decade progressed, the field began to catch up. The Gods era slowly cracked, giving way to a new, fiercely competitive landscape. In this shifting meta, Axe carved out a place just beneath the pantheon. Many considered him a demigod of Melee, a perennial top-ranked threat and one of the few players capable of taking sets off of the Gods themselves. Eventually, his talent would even carry him into esports professionalism when he signed with Tempo Storm and was able to turn his passion into a career. But for all the fan love and success, one question lingered over Axe. Could Pikachu, long viewed as a character too flawed to be solo viable, ever carry a player to a major tournament victory? Up to now, this question was still unclear. However, in 2019, the vision started to form. At Genesisgg, the first super major of the year, Axe suffered a relatively early loss to the explosive Captain Falcon player S2J, but instead of collapsing, something sparked. Axe tore through the losers bracket, battling his way into top 8 and climbing all the way to losers finals, but could he push it further? Waiting for him was Plup, a primarily Sheik player who is widely regarded as one of the titans of modern Melee, contributing to the dethroning of the Gods and a former world number 2. When people debate the viability of mid-tier or low-tier characters, Sheik is often where the argument ends. Her down throw is one of the strongest combo starters in the game, leading into aerials, tech chases, or, for a large portion of the cast, straight back into itself for another grab via a chain grab. And unfortunately for Axe, Pikachu is one of the characters who suffers the most from it. One grab can lead to a brutal chain grab and massive percent, while Pikachu is helpless to break free. On top of that, Sheik has one of the best shields in Melee and exceptional tools to box out stubby characters who need to get in close. Combine that with Pikachu's naturally aggressive, risk-heavy game plan, one that forces him to approach, and the risk-reward ratio becomes overwhelmingly skewed in Sheik's favor. Historically, Axe had suffered many quick 3-0 losses to Plup for exactly these reasons. Game 1 demonstrates all of this perfectly. Plup immediately lands a grab, explodes the combo, and boxes out Pikachu at every turn. He closes out the game with a comfortable 2-stock. But if it wasn't already clear, Axe is no ordinary Pikachu player. After taking a moment to analyze the situation, he counterpicks Yoshi's story. Here, Axe dances just outside Sheik's threat zones, threading through her large hitboxes and striking the moment he finds an opening. An aggressive offstage edge guard secures stock 1. The small ceiling of Yoshi's combined with Pikachu's devastating vertical kill power secures stock 2. Axe's relentless pressure throws Plup off their rhythm, and the game ends with Sheik plummeting into the bottom of the blast zone. Despite the high stakes, Axe is still having fun. Game 3 becomes a messy scramble. In a last hit, last stock situation, Axe had a Sheik off stage, but missed the precise angle needed to grab the ledge, costing him the game.
Yeah. The crowd says it better than I ever could.
The game was his for the taking, but he missed his opportunity when it mattered most. Axe breathes, centers himself, and locks in his beloved Fountain of Dreams. What followed was a showcase of why he's considered one of the best on that stage.
Absolutely, because you know that you're about to, right?
That up air was slick. Wow. Yeah, that was, he got under the aerial. Yeah, oh my God, he goes all the way up. He's so far away.
Yep.
Cool. And it's, I mean, he's in, oh my God. Ah! Do it to him!
And Plup nodding.
Weaving in and out of Sheik's aerial walls, Axe maintains center stage, keeps up horizontal pressure, and repeatedly forces Plup into vulnerable offstage positions. Despite many fans writing off the set as doomed from the start, Axe pushes it to Game 5. Plup counterpicks Final Destination, and with no platforms, Pikachu has nowhere to escape Sheik's punishing chain grab. Axe opens strong, and with a solid read on Plup's tendencies at this point, he outplays him to take the first lead.
Stressful to be off stage here. Now it's even more. Oh, what an angle for Plup, and it doesn't matter because Axe
He had it mapped out.
has it mapped out.
That was mapped out. And if he messed up, then you get hit, and then you're like, it's not a good spot.
Right, and then you're getting edge guarded, but Axe.
Up a stock.
But another major recovery error evens out the stocks at 2 apiece. Axe temporarily loses the lead, but stays composed, and is able to flip another bad situation in his favor. Believing in Axe, the crowd begins to chant.
After the first hit, 26%.
He actually whip punished auto-cancel forward from Plup. You have to be so precise to do that, oh my god.
In the final exchange, Axe clips an airborne Sheik with a tail spike, knocking her off stage with no jump. Plup has no choice but to use his up B recovery. With a hard read that Plup will likely go to ledge, Axe commits to Pikachu's quick attack, aiming for a ledge hog. The timing has to be perfect. Any hesitation, any error like the one in Game 3, and it'll cost him the entire set.
Where's the most comfortable?
Ooh, double jump.
This is bad, and Plup double jumping between stocks.
Axe going on to grand finals to face Hungrybox over Plup. Kooky stuff, Toph. What world are we living in?
Axe, now in Grand Finals, stands just one set away from making Melee history, finally achieving his dream of winning a major tournament after more than a decade of grinding. But to do it, he'd have to face arguably his toughest challenge yet. As the 5 gods era began to fade and new talent rose to challenge them, one god didn't fall behind. He pulled ahead. Hungrybox, the greatest Jigglypuff player of all time and one of the most recognizable faces in Smash, had reinvented his game. Once regarded as one of the weaker 5 gods in the early 2010s, Hungrybox made a massive breakthrough around 2015, climbing the ranks until he finally dethroned Armada. From 2017 onward, he cemented himself as the #1 player in the world. Hungrybox's strategy revolved around mastering Puff's unparalleled aerial mobility, playing a slow, suffocating, and brutally effective defensive style. It wasn't just strong, it was notoriously frustrating to fight against. Top players struggled with Hungrybox so much that many began developing secondary Foxes specifically designed to counter him, hoping Fox's speed, lasers, and guaranteed punishes would finally crack the matchup. Even Armada, considered by many to be the greatest Melee player of all time, would be forced off his peach against Hungrybox, and eventually retire from singles entirely in 2018. While he cited a lack of motivation as the primary reason, many fans speculated that the relentless pressure of Hungrybox's reign played a major role in this decision. Now, unlike Fox, who has lasers and consistent follow-ups that make the Puff matchup arguably favorable, Pikachu has none of these tools. To win, Axe would need to weather an exhausting game of attrition, winning neutral over and over, landing precise reads, and slowly chipping away at the balloon Pokemon stock by stock. It was a test of stamina against one of Melee's most disciplined players. And despite how hopeless the odds seemed, Axe fought on and edged out Game 1.
Yeah, can't zone like that.
Did you see Axe's face after that happened? He had a little smirk and nodded as though to say, yeah, Hungrybox, sorry man,
This
that's
is
what
a different.
happens.
Game 2 would be played on Dreamland, a large stage that would extend Jigglypuff's lifespan and force Axe to win even more interactions than he already had to. HBox would execute his defensive game plan perfectly, and rather than subject himself to more of it, Axe would end his 4th stock prematurely and move on. He would select Pokemon Stadium as his counterpick, and after going tit for tat for a majority of the game would go down to the absolute wire. And with 30 seconds left on the clock, Axe would get launched by an up-smash into the air. Any additional percentage and he would have been dead. But despite living, he had a massive percentage deficit and little time to make up for it.
Did he not think about it?
Oh, he put it all on black.
Having battled for a grueling 8 minutes, Hungrybox would win the game in a timeout situation due to his percent lead. Despite the crushing defeat, Axe would push on.
It's marching towards us. Nice shield, Axe, good punish.
We've seen HBox do against like Shoodad in the past. That was insane.
Too fast for him.
God.
Too fast for Hungrybox. He thought he was safe, but
No.
he gets that up smash, then he's got a nice lead.
Yeah. HBox is poking at him. Hasn't really. Oh
He
my
found it.
god.
Axe found it. No signal, it's back.
Showing his willingness to throw out his best vertical launcher, Axe is able to catch HBox off guard multiple times and send him into the blast zone. It is now Game 5, and Axe has the potential to reset the bracket. This was a make or break moment for Axe. Game 5 begins, and with an execution error on HBox's part, Axe is able to take the stock lead.
Burn it! I'm not giving you...
Missing jump cancel grab and the leg. I've never seen somebody punish him that hard for missing a jump cancel grab.
Locking in and eventually taking the lead, Hungrybox is able to change the pace of the match and force Axe to approach.
So, such a monster, honestly. But Axe,
Again, though, what's the win condition? It's got to be a back air
There it is.
160 plus.
not gonna do much. Wow! What was that? Up throw?
Yeah, and Xbox jumped into it.
He did. Axe gambled hard right there. This is a moment where, oh, I did not think that would KO, but it did. Axe looking down, thinking to himself, reassuring himself that he could do it.
Axe fights hard to even the stock count, but after some unexpected aggression from the Puff, damage begins to surmount. And with a perfectly placed forward smash,
He's just slowly but yeah. Honestly, what a set. I really feel like that last stock game 5, right? Axe really showing his grit and his maturity, his ability to stay dialed in for such a long period of time. But
deflated, Axe slouches over his chair. Despite his best efforts, Hungrybox is able to win grand finals without a reset. He was so close to achieving his dream, but couldn't clutch it out. In a humble show of sportsmanship, the two hug it out to the applause of the crowd. A familiar pattern began to show across the first half of 2019. A month after Genesis, Axe would once again find his way into grand finals at Gommel, only to lose another nail-biting Game 5 set, this time to Mango. Axe had come frustratingly close to winning a major, but each time, he just fell short. But it felt like the blueprint was there. Axe was consistently placing near the top, taking sets off the best players in the world, and proving that Pikachu, once dismissed as a gimmick, was undeniably a threat on the big stage. But something was still missing. Axe hadn't yet managed to put everything together in a single tournament. The stamina, the composure, the ability to stay locked in from start to finish. That final piece of the puzzle still hovered just out of reach. The question lingered, would he finally figure it out, or would it continue to slip away? In June of 2019, the summer of Smash would kick off with Smash Summit 8. Smash Summits by production studio Beyond the Summit were unique invitation-only events. 16 players were brought together for 4 days of melee, skits, content, friendlies, and ultimately a brutal group stage into a double elimination bracket to crown a champion. Although they didn't follow the traditional open bracket format, summits were widely considered some of the hardest and most prestigious tournaments in the scene. Under this format, you were dropped directly into a pool of the world's strongest competitors. The invited lineup was stacked with literal top-ranked players of the current rankings, along with a few top-level wildcards who earned their spot through qualifiers or massive fan voting campaigns. And on top of that, Summit events featured some of the largest prize pools in Melee history, thanks to sponsor backing and enormous community support. If there was a Melee tournament any competitor wanted to win, it was a Summit. Having put on a stellar first half of the year, Axe earned his invitation to Summit, and after winning the reverse main side event, he began his matches in the group stage of the bracket. Summit's opening phase used a Swiss-style group stage to determine bracket seeding for Championship Day. Each player would play 3 sets, paired against opponents based on their seed and ongoing record. At the end of the groups, your win-loss record would dictate where you started in the final bracket. A positive record meant a high seed and a cushy spot in winners with a bye for the first round, while a losing record meant being tossed an extra set that you would need to win to advance and avoid the losers bracket. At an event as stacked as Summit, starting in winners is more than a comfort, it's a lifeline. If Axe wanted a chance at a deep bracket run, he needed to secure a positive record and stay in winners from the very start. His first opponent in groups would be the deadly Canadian Fox player Moki, who at the time was a major up-and-comer. The set was competitive, but Axe held firm, taking it convincingly while dropping only a single game. His next match, however, would be a different story. Leffen had historically proven a very difficult obstacle for Axe, and despite Axe having beaten him earlier that year at Gommel, this time Leffen was unshakable. He swept Axe 3-0, securing his own place in winners and leaving Axe with one final chance to escape groups on the winner's side. That chance was a rematch with S2J, the same Captain Falcon who had handed Axe an early loss at Genesisgg just months prior. This time, Axe came prepared.
Gave Johnny the work.
Falcon in this matchup, see, like, okay, he got a kill. S2 tried to make it ambiguous if he's going to land on the platform or not, but Axe didn't fall for that trap.
God, Axe is too good.
Hi, JV.
Yeah. He might.
He might.
He did it. JV4.
Learning from their last encounter, he tore through S2J with a dominant 3-0, finishing the group stage with a positive record and narrowly squeezing into winner's bracket. Still seeded 8th overall, but very much alive. Starting in winners meant a crucial advantage, a bye into top 8 qualifiers. Axe's first opponent, Zayn, one of the fastest rising superstars in the scene, already known for pushing Marth to terrifying new heights. Most players expected Axe to win. His matchup knowledge versus Marth was legendary, but Zayn wasn't about to be another notch on the Pikachu's belt. The set turned into a nail-biting, sweaty back and forth. Axe took game 1, but Zayn adjusted beautifully, taking the next 2 to go up 2-1. Suddenly, Axe was 1 loss away from falling into losers.
Hey Ty, what percent would a up throw kill on you?
Yeah, that is very.
He takes his time, and even though he's got axe and kill percent for like a minute, he's never overexerting himself.
Yeah, I think the way Zayn played Mars dash dance and down tilt with just their like crappy ground options.
Yeah, it's really hard to time when it's over hundreds.
He might have it.
He looks a little unconfident, but he gets that one.
Nice.
Oh no! Back throw, uppy.
Yeah.
Forward smash.
That's it.
Oh my god!
That's why you don't try to lift guard Pikachu.
He could have done something.
Yeah, he had options.
Up throw, nothing.
Game 5 is going to be
mind.
like all about momentum, so you got to treat this first stock like your last. And just start it up right. You don't want to be trying to make comebacks in game 5. That's where people just... Game 5 is like probably one of the most common...
Uppy?
Oh, yeah. Jesus.
Oh my god.
That's
what?
Oh,
wow.
Mini pop-off.
Yeah, Axe with the fist.
He does not want to lose a streak.
Pikachu.
Just like sneak under your aerials and like blow you up.
Yeah, what a stock from Zayn to fire back. Manages to get out just in time. Yeah. Still in a bad spot though.
Just do it.
What a trade. Damn. He knows he's got to keep his percentage low to hang, but...
Nice.
Okay.
Wow, that was so good.
Okay, 50 is good. He can work with this.
This is doable. Last stock, game 5.
Oh, there we go.
One of these two is going to be a little bracket.
In a last stock, last hit scramble in game 5, Axe managed to sneak in a clutch down tilt and read Zayn's roll away perfectly.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
Wow.
He moved on in winners, where waiting for him next was Mango, the very same player who had crushed his dreams at Gommel earlier that year.
Reading the hat.
Got him.
Jab up smash. Falco's up smash, so underrated.
Thought that up tilt didn't, it wasn't like that hard of a commitment.
Yeah,
It's not
right,
like Mango would have gotten punched that hard.
Yeah, that's why it was a better choice than a smash attack or something.
Oh
my
full
god.
combo!
Damn.
I do remember Leffen going for that same up tilt in this the Gommel set against Axe, and it actually cost him the stock.
Nice game.
And ultimately the game.
Tail spike at like 34?
Yeah, that'll do it. And he doesn't mess up, which you probably won't.
Right.
You're guaranteed.
Oh no.
Yeah, DI off. This is Axe's big shot right here. This is wiping the
Depending on
stage.
how good Axe's execution is on this
Oh
big set.
man, he's just dead.
He's like
wow.
4 for 4
Yeah, you got
doing
like
that.
3 times on that stage. That's crazy. Wow.
The Yoshi's ledges are weird, and it's like harder to do the uppy sweet spot.
Oh, okay.
Oh, my
God.
God.
2 tail spikes?
Ooh, got the clip. Up
Yeah,
smash.
nice
Big
defensive
tech
up
chase. Oh, he never follows up in that tech chase.
That's
Oh, man.
Oh, that was scary.
It's kind of uncharacteristic. We saw Mango throw out a really badly drifted.
Oh,
cancel
the
that.
down
was
air!
so smart.
Wow.
That was a really good
The
trade.
counter down
What an
air.
answer from Mango.
Oh, this could
But he
be
dies right away anyways.
Access down air this.
Imagine if Mango homie sucked this game.
Mango's in a
Mango's
bad
timing.
spot.
Oh, positioning yourself above Pikachu like that is so risky.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Down smash.
Randall's
Pikachu's
coming.
so light.
This is going to be a crazy situation.
Oh! Got him. Mango has a little fist pump there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the very
Needed that.
inside of the down tilt.
Down to the wire, Axe chooses his beloved Fountain of Dreams for game 5.
Ooh, this platform is really
The
awkward for
crappy
both of them.
Pikachu shield, smallest shield in the
Oh,
game.
He has been shield poking the backside of Axe's shield this
He-
entire set.
He should not have down that.
The thing is, too, Mango usually goes aggressive after his fade backs. He kind of tests people by making like a juicy bait, and then he goes in hard afterwards, and he's kind of like doubling down on the defensive side of things.
Ooh,
which
good
is really
smash.
uncharacteristic.
Good smash behind you down smash.
Oh, wow.
Kind of
Caught
bad
him
back
again.
Yeah.
Should not have uppered that.
Oh, he's
still
jumping
got it.
aerials.
I know
He's
what
jumping
this
back
is.
Baited that
aerials.
downer at.
That's so
Oh,
scary.
oh yeah.
Axe just, That was a 0 to death, I think.
Yeah. 3
That
stocks to 1.
It wasn't even a combo. He just like read him a few times off the edge.
Yeah, Mango definitely
wasn't
jumped
ready.
back with a lot of aerials.
Oh
my
my
god, he bumped his head on FOD!
Axe defeats Mango, and still alive and well in winner's bracket, proceeds into the semifinals. There, he would meet Wizrobe. Wizrobe was perhaps the fastest rising star in the first half of 2019. A pioneer of modern Captain Falcon, and the strongest representative of the 20GX movement, a collective dedicated to optimizing Falcon into a true top-tier contender. Wizzy had long hovered around the top 10, but 2019 was his breakout year. He finally began consistently defeating Melee's elites, and had become the first Falcon main since Isaiah to win a major tournament, and proved to be one of the few players capable of regularly beating Hungrybox, the world's current #1. Wizrobe's dominance would earn him a #2 spot on the summer 2019 rankings, and he would enter Smash Summit 8 as one of the event's favorites, seeded 3rd overall. Axe would fight tooth and nail, but ultimately end up dropping the opening game. Wizrobe's speed and combos were just too overwhelming. Game 2 was a lot closer. Both players would go blow for blow all the way down to the last stock, last hit. In a moment of pure composure, Axe clutches it out, tying the set 1-1. In Game 3, disaster would strike immediately. Axe self-destructs and falls into a massive deficit. Down 2 stocks, the situation looks pretty hopeless. But somehow, through sheer grit,
yeah, you can't feel like that as Puff or like Response here. Just got chain grab, just gotta rest. Here we go. Can you finish it? Damn, X? Up air? Oh, up smash. That combo?
Axe mounts a comeback. He erases Wizzy's lead stock by stock, lands a crucial edge guard, and steals the game. The momentum was now his. For Game 4, Wizrobe, one of the fastest players in Melee, piloting one of its fastest characters, tries to overwhelm Axe with speed and relentless pressure, but Axe's aggression is sharper, his movement is tighter, and he's able to outmaneuver the Falcon. Realizing he's losing the ground war, Wizrobe makes a desperate gamble. He leaps off stage for a risky knee, hoping to end Axe's stock early. But he miscalculates, and with Falcon falling too low, Wizrobe self-destructs. And with that tragic drop, Axe takes the set and advances to Winners Finals at Smash Summit 8. Waiting for him at the top was Leffen, the same player who had dismantled Axe 3-0 earlier in the pool stage the day before. But this time, things would be very different. What followed was one of the most electrifying sets of the tournament. Both players performed at their absolute peaks, Leffen with his mechanical precision and suffocating pressure, Axe with his unmatched creativity, counterplay, and ferocious punish game. Blow for blow, adaptation for adaptation, the set pushed both players to their limits. With Axe's counter pick advantage, the final game went to Final Destination.
Leffen has to play extremely solid right now. Comes in and grab.
There's one.
Yeah, got the up air. There it is.
Man, you can even see like Leffen like recoil just a little bit after he got
Forward
the grab.
throw?
Mix up,
Forward
mix
throw.
up, mix up.
Okay, okay.
Down.
All right, back to up throw.
Nice.
I like it.
Yeah.
Super well by keeping
Got
FD.
the up air.
Oh,
There's
he
the
gets
grab.
the grab.
Keeping FD for Game 5
Oh
is so
my
he
God,
crazy.
so
Yeah.
fast.
Can't pummel that much.
Pikachu actually has one of the worst pummels in the game. Like,
animation.
for instance, most characters can pummel and then buffer a throw, but Pikachu actually cannot.
Really?
Or it's much, much harder for him, yeah.
Oh
Here's the
my
nair.
God. For sure.
Oh, it didn't jab him.
Yeah, didn't jab him, didn't shield.
Good
Crowd
DI and
cancel.
neutral tech. That was great by X.
Good up smash.
Oh,
Nice forward tilt.
my
You're dead.
God.
Oh, and he shine stall, but Axe actually
Huge
waited
game.
a little bit against the downer. The crowd is going wild back there.
Everybody wants X to win. The
Up
grab.
smash was so...
Wait. Oh my God!
Crazy.
Oh, he
Okay.
almost had it. But
Wow.
but
Leffen's still
Leffen
in
was
it.
smart.
He's
Yeah,
still in it, yeah.
Leffen was smart to go.
X just going for raw grabs right now. 'Cause he knows
Oh!
that might be it.
Oh!
He got the
Hit the
grab.
He's gonna go.
Nair.
Okay, off stage.
Yeah.
Okay, goes for
Yeah,
it.
got it.
And Axe is in Grand Finals. Axe is in Grand Finals.
Super well
Winner
played.
side,
Winner
Smash
side.
Summit 8.
He just cracks a smile.
In a stunning display of discipline and on-the-fly adaptation, Axe had made it back to Grand Finals, now just one set away from winning the entire event. But there was still one question lingering in the air. Which shark would rise from the loser's bracket to try and stop him? Wizrobe fought his way back into losers finals. Historically, Leffen had dominated Captain Falcon players, but 2019 Wizrobe was a different beast. Having already solved the matchup and even beaten Leffen earlier that year at Smash and Splash, Wizzy entered the rematch with confidence and a game plan. Utilizing Falcon's devastating down throw tech chase, impeccable edge guards, and his signature knee finishers, Wizrobe dismantled Leffen in a clean 3-0 victory, securing his rematch against Axe in Grand Finals. Wizrobe, having already demonstrated his ability to close out tournaments, was back and ready to win. Could Axe achieve the impossible and close out a set to win the tournament, or would history repeat itself?
Oh, this is tense. This is very tense. Wizzy looking very stationary though. Yeah, trying to get in.
Very, very close. Like a couple more.
Oh,
What
my
an up
God.
air! That's such a good up air.
Do that. That's fighting his heart out. Oh my God. This is
Yeah.
so
Oh,
man. Solid 3 stock, but
the wrong way you wanted to.
he was.
Oh my gosh. The next grab, Neil will do it, but can he get it?
Oh my god, the sleeve.
He's off stage.
Back airs.
He tried to do the get up his act, down throw knee, not gonna be able to do it, down throw knee.
Nice.
Wizzy has reset the bracket.
Second set.
Here it is.
My god.
Second set here at Smash Summit 8.
Wizzy struck first. He took the opening set with a commanding 3-1 victory, and suddenly, the story felt painfully familiar. Axe, the perennial underdog, had climbed all the way back to the summit, only to be stopped at the doorstep by a battle-hardened competitor. Was Smash Summit 8 destined to be yet another heartbreaking second place? Or was this finally the moment Axe would break the cycle? Taking a moment to breathe, Axe reset his mindset. Years of grinding, near misses, heartbreak, came down to this one final set. It was now or never. Game 1 begins on Battlefield. Axe strikes first, but Wizrope answered back with a clean edgeguard, using Falcon's blistering horizontal drift to steal an early stock. But Axe refused to let the momentum slip. With a sharp read and perfectly timed reverse tail spike, he evened the score and took the lead right back. Wizzy fires back with suffocating pressure, eventually tying the game, until Axe found his opening. Catching Falcon in a vulnerable position, Axe launches into one of Pikachu's most technical and precise sequences, a ladder string of up airs, using the tiny, specific hitbox on Pikachu's tail to juggle Falcon higher and higher. With one final up smash on the top platform, Falcon was sent hurling into the blast zone.
Oh, wait. Okay, let's see what.
Weird edgeguard.
Oh my god, up airs into the up smash.
None of us knew what he was going for. Wizzy didn't either.
Game 1 goes to Axe. Game 2 heads to Dreamland, a classic counter pick. Falcon thrives here with tons of space to move around and a massive ceiling that keeps him alive far longer than most characters. But Axe doesn't flinch. Reading Wizrobe's defensive stomps and drift patterns, Axe finds an early opening and executes a devastating low percent gimp on Falcon's third stock. With momentum on his side, he refuses to let up, tacking on damage everywhere he can, forcing Wizzy into the corner over and over. And after a clean, flowchart perfect edgeguard,
Down tilt.
Right now.
Yeah,
Yo!
that's
Oh my god.
Axe's
It's over. 2-0. Axe is one game away from being the Summit 8 champion.
I think this is it.
Wizrobe returns to Dreamland for Game 3, sticking to the game plan that had earned him the first set. This time, the match becomes a tense back and forth. Every hit counts, every stock feels like it could decide the set. It all comes down to the last one. Axe strikes first with a massive 60% combo, but Falcon only needs one grab. Wizrobe finds it.
Oh my god. The grab. Up air. Up air knee. That was so clutch for Wizzy. That is the perfect percent to do that.
Let it end yet.
It's till the bitter end.
Axe, recognizing the moment, takes a breath, and then makes his counter pick. Final destination. No platforms, no safety nets, just neutral interactions and raw execution. Pikachu's stubby range makes landing grabs difficult, and Wizzy knows exactly what Axe is looking for. Falcon keeps him out with walls of aerials, stomps, and dash dances, but eventually, Axe finds his way in.
Got him again.
Here you go.
Here
we go.
Oh,
Yeah, he got him again.
Oh my god, that's it.
Just
Axe
dead?
went for that first
He
stock
regains
too.
the lead.
Tempo Axe.
Aximus Maximus.
Both players live on deep into high percent, refusing to give up their stock. Finally, Axe clutches out a reverse tail spike edgeguard, sending Falcon off stage at over 150%. Moments later, a surprise up air into a grab sets up the finish.
That's damage. He's gonna get chain grab.
Here we go.
Up throw.
This is why
What's he gonna get here? Up smash.
And early.
Thunder. 85. He's off stage.
Axe
Is your Smash Summit 8 champion.
Axe did it.
He's done it.
A Pikachu has won a major Smash Summit 8
Oh my.
after a year of second place victories and almost year for Axe.
kidding him.
He
After
does it.
years and years of being
He's
on
done
the
it.
verge.
He did it.
Having adapted from the loss in his first set, Axe is crowned the champion of Smash Summit 8, one of Melee's most prestigious tournaments. As the victory settles in, Axe stands still, almost frozen. Then, the emotion hits. He sits down overwhelmed, and tears start to fall. His best friend, Vector Man, who had been with him since his earliest days playing Melee in high school, rushes over and embraces him. After more than a decade of grinding, of heartbreak, of trying to prove the world wrong, Axe had accomplished his lifelong dream, and he did it his way, with a tiny electric mouse that no one else believed in. After realizing his long-held dream, Axe would close out 2019 on a high note, finishing 4th at the end of the year top 100, the highest ranking of his career thus far. Axe's Melee trajectory would take a surprising turn as the world entered into the 2020s. When the COVID-19 pandemic hit, in-person Melee tournaments came to a screeching halt. For a game that relied on CRTs, GameCubes, and local setups, it felt like competitive Melee might be frozen indefinitely. But then came Slippy, a rollback-enabled build of Melee that revolutionized online play and allowed competitors to grind with near-offline precision. Melee tournaments would then move online throughout the duration of the pandemic. Axe entered many of these online events, but the transition wasn't easy for him. His Arizona internet connection was inconsistent, and Pikachu, one of the most execution-heavy characters in the game, demanded frame-tight inputs and spacing that were simply less reliable online. When offline tournaments finally returned in late 2021, Axe's results would become more volatile than before. His placement on the 2022 summer rankings, the first official ranking since the pandemic, reflected this shift. 29th, the lowest of his career so far. But it wasn't just a matter of rust. After winning a super major, players now viewed Axe as a legitimate tournament threat. Top competitors began to prepare specific counterplay against Axe, studying Pikachu matchups and building game plans to shut down his explosive style. At the same time, Slippy had massively raised the overall skill floor across the community, removing geographic barriers and allowing players to train harder and smarter than ever before. Axe would fight his way back into form, climbing each year into the top 10 to 20 range. Still excellent, but short of the legendary 2019 peak. Having gotten older and made some personal changes in his life, some speculated Axe's passion had waned or that Melee's evolving meta was catching up with him. But something unexpected was happening. Axe's decade-long crusade to make Pikachu viable hadn't just changed his own career, it had inspired others, and soon, the ripple effect of his impact would become impossible to ignore. Pikachu players began to emerge and make real waves in competitive Melee. From Swift in Maryland to J-Chew in Florida, the electric mouse became far less rare of a sight at top-level play. Although they followed the path that Axe had carved out, each one brought their own style, tech, and answers to Melee's ever-evolving landscape. For the first time in the game's history, Axe wasn't alone. His legacy had grown into a movement. Then, on December 12th, 2024, Axe released a statement to the Melee community. At first glance, it read like a retirement announcement, but it was anything but that. Axe reaffirmed his love for Melee and committed to making 2025 a year of renewed effort, ambition, and grind. A promise to chase the heights he'd once reached and perhaps even surpass them. Armed with new strategies learned from the rising pool of Pikachu players, Axe returned to form almost immediately. At the first Super Major of the year, Genesisgg 2, he battled his way into top 8 on the big stage, proving that his spark was far from gone. That momentum hasn't stopped, and as of today, Axe has once again become a common fixture in top 8s across Melee's biggest tournaments. And having already achieved the impossible once, there's little doubt. If anyone can climb back to the summit of Melee, it's Axe. Axe proved that one person's dedication can rewrite a character's fate. Pikachu's rise wasn't an accident, it was the work of a player willing to push past limitations no one else dared to challenge. But somewhere across the world, an even rarer story was brewing. A story about a character no one understood, about a playstyle no one can copy. Hailing from a small and overlooked Melee community on the other side of the world, a player emerged whose creativity, discipline, and vision would shake Melee to its core. Of Melee's 26 character cast, Yoshi is arguably the most unique and the most misunderstood. His design is counterintuitive, built on mechanics that run completely against the principles that define how most characters are meant to be played. His archetype is a blend of tankiness, aerial mobility, and explosive combos, all made possible by Yoshi's unique flutter jump. Most characters have one or more tools to recover once they've expended their double jump. Special moves that let them drift, stall, or propel themselves back toward the stage. But Yoshi is the lone exception. Once Yoshi uses his second jump, he has no traditional recovery move. Instead, he gets Egg Toss, a versatile projectile that deals high damage and hit stun and can be used to zone, edge guard, or even extend combos. It's a great move, but occupying the slot where most characters would have a third jump, it's a double-edged sword. When his double jump is expended, Yoshi's only remaining option is either a meek egg roll or an air dodge, which offers a small directional boost but leaves him completely helpless afterward. To compensate for this enormous weakness, the developers built a defensive mechanic into his flutter jump, Super Armor. While fluttering in the air, Yoshi can absorb a certain amount of knockback, eating hits that would launch every other character. This lets him power through attacks and drift back to safety. But this armor comes with a catch. If the incoming attack deals enough knockback, Yoshi's armor breaks, and suddenly, he becomes one of the easiest characters in the game to juggle or edgeguard. No recovery, no escape tools, and a perfect combo weight mean that a broken double jump often spells a lost stock. Super armor isn't the only quirk tied to Yoshi's jump. When a melee character executes a jump and then an aerial attack at the same time, most will typically rise upwards while the attack comes out. However, there are a select few characters who have their momentum completely halted when an aerial attack is executed. Yoshi is one of these characters. Known as a double jump cancel, or DJC for short, Yoshi can instantly halt his upward momentum and attack in place. Combine DJC with super armor, and Yoshi has the ability to absorb a hit and immediately counterattack with a double jump cancel aerial. This creates a very unique risk-reward system. Successful DJC armor can lead to punishes, combos, even early stocks. But if the Yoshi player misreads the situation and attacks too early, or the opponent simply hits hard enough to break the armor, Yoshi is left without a jump and plummets into one of the most vulnerable states in the entire game. Despite a pretty heavy weight and a lot of defensive tools, Yoshi's movement is shockingly fast. Thanks to his quick dash, fast fall speed, and extremely low traction, he has some of the slipperiest ground movement in the entire game, and when you add in platform wavelands, air dodging onto a platform to glide at high speed, Yoshi can zip across the stage with unpredictable, almost serpentine-like motions. This mobility allows him to fluidly shift between defense and offense. His unorthodox movement can bait an opponent into whiffing an attack, and then he can immediately punish with a string of tilts and double jump cancel aerials. When pulled well, Yoshi becomes a character who dances just out of reach and then explodes into a combo the moment an opening appears. Paired with some surprisingly quick and powerful finishers such as down smash, Yoshi has the ability to delete stocks if he can win neutral and find an opening. Yoshi's shield adds yet another twist. Instead of a standard bubble shield, he encases himself entirely in an egg. This makes him immune to shield pokes, and he also experiences no shield stun. But there's a massive trade-off. Yoshi cannot jump out of shield. Most characters can escape pressure or punish from shield with an aerial or wave dash. Yoshi is stuck until he rolls, spot dodges, or fully drops the shield. Actions that are slow, predictable, and easy to react to. This makes shielding on the ground incredibly restrictive. However, he has two ways to get around this limitation. When Yoshi shields on a platform, he gains access to shield drops, an advanced technique that lets a player instantly slip through the platform and retaliate. Combined with his strong platform movement and unpokeable shield, platforms become a vital anchor of Yoshi's game plan. He can either safely maneuver away from pressure or even bait an opponent into attacking his egg and then counter with an aerial of his own. But in situations where Yoshi doesn't have platforms to rely on, he has one last X factor that is unique to him and only him: the parry. In fighting games like Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, parrying is an intentional mechanic made by the designers. Tap forward at the right moment and you can nullify an incoming hit and immediately strike back. Mistime it and you're in trouble. By design, it's a high risk, high reward mechanic. Although Melee offers a somewhat similar but still different system known as Power Shield, no true parry system is explicitly built into the game. Instead, Yoshi can parry because of a strange quirk in his shield animation. When Yoshi begins to shield, he enters a 6-frame pre-shield state before the egg appears, and during those first frames, Yoshi is fully invincible. Not intangible like a roll or a ledge grab, but truly invincible, meaning he absorbs the hit, causes the opponent to freeze and hit lag, and takes no damage or knockback himself. And even more bizarrely, Yoshi is allowed to jump during this tiny window, despite not being able to jump out of shield otherwise. So a parry works like this. Yoshi taps shield a split second before the attack lands. The hitbox collides with his invincible body instead of the egg. The opponent freezes in hit lag while Yoshi is free to move. And then Yoshi jumps instantly, giving him the opportunity to punish with a double jump cancel aerial or a grab. Executed perfectly, a parry turns even the safest aerials in the game into punishes. It's arguably the strongest defensive option in Melee, but it's also one of the most difficult techniques in the game to perform consistently. Yoshi's real parry window is only 2 frames, which for a 60 frames per second game like Melee boils down to about 33 milliseconds. Miss that timing by even a fraction of a second and the parry fails, leaving Yoshi stuck in shield or wide open to attack. Yoshi is incredibly complex, and you could spend hours breaking down his mechanics, but it all boils down to this. Yoshi isn't built to play Melee the way everyone else is. Treat him like a conventional character, and he cracks under his own limitations. But if you can master the bizarre tools that he and only he has, then perhaps Yoshi will have a fighting chance. From Melee's launch in 2001 through the early 2010s, Yoshi was widely considered unviable, sometimes even placed at the absolute bottom of the tier list. A few dedicated specialists existed, but the character's oddball mechanics and brutally steep learning curve turned most players away. While some players acknowledged that Yoshi might have hidden potential, the consensus was clear. Why invest years mastering a bizarre, unintuitive character when the top tiers were so much easier and more rewarding to pilot? But little did the Melee community know that in the year of 2013, someone was coming to challenge that notion, and they would hail from perhaps the most unexpected part of the community. In competitive Melee, Japan occupies a strangely paradoxical place. As the birthplace of Nintendo and a global hub for gaming culture, Japan has produced some of Melee's earliest legends, players like Captain Jack, who were once considered among the best in the world. In those early years, the Japanese scene was a powerhouse of high-level play, responsible for several seismic shifts in Melee's meta. Perhaps the most iconic example came from the Jack Garden tournament, where a group of top-level American players traveled overseas to test their skills. In Grand Finals, the king of Smash himself, Ken, found his match in a 12-year-old Falco prodigy named Bomb Soldier. At the time, Falco was viewed as a defensive character, built around laser camping and cautious spacing, but Bomb Soldier's playstyle shattered that mold. He showcased an explosive, aggressive Falco, one who used blazing speed and pillar combos to smother their opponents in ways no one had seen before. The footage spread across the world, and overnight, Falco's entire paradigm shifted, and although Bomb Soldier didn't end up winning the set, he arguably defined how the character would be played for the next 2 decades. As newer Smash titles released, Melee at large would survive, but as a very small community, until its eventual renaissance in 2013, where it has since, at times, outclassed the newest iteration. But in Japan, the story played out very differently. Because of the country's strict gambling laws, Japanese tournaments cannot award cash prizes. Everything is played purely for pride, passion, and love of the game. That model works for newer Smash titles. The player bases are massive, and sponsorship opportunities can be enough to sustain top competitors. But Melee's player base is smaller, older, and far more scattered. And when nearly all the top competition is overseas in the United States, pursuing Melee at the highest level becomes a logistical nightmare. Long flights, heavy travel expenses, grueling jet lag, and limited opportunity. For many Japanese players who are aging out of the grind, the cost simply outweighed the reward. Or, it made more sense to focus on the newest Smash release instead. So what's the end result of all these unique circumstances? The Japanese Melee scene would gradually shrink into a tight-knit circle of die-hard veterans. Tournaments were smaller and less frequent, but also uniquely insulated. Free from the influence of the American meta, Japan developed its own distinct playstyles, filled with unusual character picks and unconventional strategies. And it was in this isolated corner of the Melee world, far from the spotlight, that a Red Yoshi was hatched. In early 2013, whispers began circulating through the Melee community. Rumors of a new Yoshi player, someone relatively unknown but making waves in the small Japanese scene. Reintroduced to Melee by a university friend in October of 2012, Amsa didn't choose Yoshi for any strategic reason. He simply loved the character, and played him in almost every Nintendo game he touched, but once he discovered Yoshi's bizarre mechanics and advanced movement, he fell in love. He started grinding the character's unique techniques and slowly refining what would become a revolutionary style. Eager to test himself and armed with nothing but passion and a Red Dinosaur, Amsa traveled to the United States for the first time to attend EVO 2013. It was there that the Western world saw the Red Yoshi in action for the first time. Among 709 entrants, Amsa placed an astounding 25th, making him the highest placing Japanese competitor at the event. Along the way, he even took a game off of Mewtwo King, one of the untouchable 5 gods of Melee at the time. During his stay in Las Vegas, Amsa recorded countless friendlies and exhibition matches against top North American players, many of whom were stunned at this strange, precise, and hyper-technical Yoshi they had never encountered before. Half a year later, at Apex 2014, Amsa returned to the US with even sharper form. He placed 9th, just shy of top 8, scoring several major upsets along the way. The community had never seen a Yoshi like this. His precision, creativity, and mastery of Yoshi's strange mechanics left players and spectators alike stunned. The community even arranged a special gauntlet exhibition, pitting Amsa against multiple top players back-to-back. He would go on to beat many of these top players, further cementing himself as a rising star and a fan favorite. The Smashboards forums even managed a fundraiser to get AMSA to the Republic of Fighters 3 in France. This was the first time a Japanese player attended a European event since 2008, and AMSA would land an incredibly solid 3rd place finish just behind Leffen and Armada. AMSA would spend the summer of 2014 in the US, grinding through event after event, but his earlier American run was rocky. An underwhelming performance at MLG 2014 and a disappointing pools drowning as CEO had some people wondering if the EVO run was a fluke. The narrative at the time was that AMSA was undeniably skilled, but many believed his success came from matchup unfamiliarity. Top players simply weren't prepared for an obscure character like Yoshi, but once they learned the matchup, the magic would fade. But at Kings of Cali 4, he would get the chance to prove the skeptics wrong, and it would come in the form of a fated rematch against Mewtwo King. As one of Melee's 5 gods, and at one point considered the best player in the world, Mewtwo King was infamous for his encyclopedic knowledge of the game. Sometimes referred to as the robot, he understood frame data, punish trees, and character interactions down to their core, and his Sheik in particular posed a terrifying threat. At the time, Sheik was widely considered Yoshi's worst matchup, thanks to her down throw chain grab and suffocating defensive options. Mewtwo King also had a reputation for exploiting matchups to their absolute limits. If a character could be flowcharted, camped, chain grabbed, or pushed into the dirt, M2K would do it without hesitation. Yes, AMSA had taken a game off of M2K at EVO 2013, but that was in a best of 3. Winners quarters at Kings of Cali 4 would be best of 5, a format many believed would expose Yoshi's limitations. The longer a set ran, the more likely it seemed that Yoshi's gimmicks would unravel, and if there was anyone who would figure out the matchup, it was Mewtwo King. Game 1 seemed to confirm every doubt. Mewtwo King won with a clean 2-stock, while AMSA looked lost. Even the commentators questioned whether AMSA had a chance.
Like I said, I'm not trying to hate, but I can't see AMSA taking a
It's
game.
going to be very, very difficult.
This is Mewtwo
But
King
AMSA
Sheik.
made it to winner's corners.
But Game 2 was different. AMSA counterpicked Yoshi's story, and the first stock became a brutal tug-of-war. AMSA had to work incredibly hard to edgeguard Sheik, and Mewtwo King immediately showed his mastery with a swift reversal that deleted AMSA's second stock. But after a tricky edgehog sequence that ended with a rare Mewtwo King execution error, AMSA launched Sheik into a massive juggle string, finishing with an up smash that brought the crowd to life.
Ooh, he went for upward angle for. Oh!
That might be a kill. Oh, okay.
Just barely misses. That might be it.
Oh my god.
AMSA's up 2 stocks to 1.
AMSA, let's go.
The crowd comes alive.
Flustered, Mewtwo King retreats to ledge, his trademark bunker down strategy. By refusing to interact, he tries to force a bad option out of AMSA, and while he managed to land a chain grab, AMSA precisely times his double jump to absorb the up smash launcher and counters with a neutral arrow of his own to close the stock.
It did work, but he didn't go anywhere. So the first hit doesn't do any knockback, right? But the second one does hella. And so the second
Game 3 goes to Final Destination, one of Mewtwo King's strongest stages and a nightmare for Yoshi. With no platforms to weave around and plenty of space for Sheik to dash, dance, and grab, this was supposed to be a checkmate. But AMSA's spacing is immaculate. Through creative combos, odd hitbox usage, and a draw-dropping punish sequence, he stunned the crowd by taking a stock lead on Mewtwo King's counterpick.
Oh, and no way! He does regular get up. He takes the stock. Mewtwo
King survives deep into Hyper Sense, but is never able to regain control, finally falling to a down smash finisher.
Oh my God! Gimmer, please show the whole crowd. Everyone is watching this in this whole venue. Ben SW is losing.
AMSA had now taken a second game off of Mewtwo King on his own counterpick. Game 4 forced Mewtwo King into an uncomfortable decision. Despite the heavy matchup advantage with Sheik, he switches to Fox. It was a tacit admission. Sheik had been dismantled, and now he was on his back foot trying to throw AMSA off. And although Fox is another very difficult matchup for Yoshi, AMSA is no ordinary Yoshi.
Crashing his operating system.
Oh my God!
How much damage did that do? He KOs Fox off the top at 112.
How did that kill him?
And through a tight punish game, perfectly timed double jump cancel aerials, and a devastating combo sequence that ends in a precise egg snipe.
Oh,
that's it!
AMSA takes it. He does a Shoryuken in celebration. Mewtwo dejectedly unplugging his controller.
AMSA had defeated the one player he was never expected to even stand a chance against, inspiring Melee players all over the world that the impossible could be done. For the next several years, AMSA became perhaps the biggest wildcard in competitive Melee. His win over Mewtwo King was incredible, but it didn't fully dispel the lingering belief that Yoshi was a gimmick, an oddball character who could steal sets only through unfamiliarity. Because he lived so far from the US, AMSA could only attend a limited number of majors each year. Supporters of the Red Yoshi pointed to his standout performances at the few US majors he could attend. One highlight came at Apex 2015, where AMSA placed 5th and pushed Mango to the brink in a thrilling 5-game set. He would deliver another breakout run at Genesisgg, one of Melee's biggest ever tournaments. AMSA finished 4th, finally securing a long-awaited 3-0 victory over Mango and losing only to Plup and Axe, who, as previously discussed, was in the middle of his own legendary run. Having debuted at 77 in the 2013 SSBM ranked top 100, AMSA would quickly fight his way into the top 25, and then finally debut into the top 10 in 2018, and continue that momentum into 2019. Across the few tier lists released during this era, Yoshi experienced the single largest rise of any character in Melee's history, jumping from a bona fide bottom tier to now being ranked in the top 10, and that prestige could be traced back to the only Yoshi player that was doing it, AMSA. With deep bracket runs, a one-of-a-kind character, and an inspiring personal journey, AMSA's star power soared. In 2019, he achieved another milestone, earning a coveted Red Bull sponsorship, one of the most prestigious partnerships available to a Smash competitor. However, not everyone was convinced. Many detractors still saw Yoshi as a tricky low tier, destined to fade once the novelty wore off. Yes, AMSA could take sets off the top US players, but skeptics pointed to something else, his performance back home. While most Japanese competitors didn't achieve deep runs when traveling internationally, they did have something American players lacked: regular practice against the best Yoshi in the world. Because of this, the Japanese scene became unusually adept at the matchup, and nothing highlighted this more than AMSA's rivalry with Rudolph. Rudolph, another notable Japanese player who competed in the US, consistently challenged and often defeated AMSA in their local scene. Despite his more humble 2016 top 100 ranking, he would actually beat out AMSA in the local Japan power rankings that same year. With the highly optimized, oppressive Fox game plan tailored specifically to dismantle Yoshi, Rudolph became one of AMSA's earliest and most persistent bracket demons. It took AMSA some time of grinding and reinventing his strategies before he could reliably overcome Rudolph and reclaim Japan's #1 spot. And even then, it wasn't impossible for a Japanese player to occasionally steal a set. To many detractors, this was proof that AMSA's success in the US came more from matchup unfamiliarity than true viability. American players were simply being blindsided by an obscure character, and once they learned the matchup, they'd supposedly shut it down. Even in smaller regions, winning a local or regional Melee tournament is already difficult, but in a major, where the level of play is brutally high and every bracket is packed with top talent, consistency becomes everything. To win one, you need to be able to beat anyone in the room, and do it across a wide variety of matchups and players. And that was the sticking point for many onlookers. Yoshi has some of the toughest matchups among the top tiers, and to skeptics, it was hard to imagine how, even with all his skill, AMSA could overcome them consistently enough to take Yoshi all the way to the top. On top of everything else, AMSA was arguably one of the players hit hardest by the COVID pandemic. While competitors in North America could still train through online tournaments and friendlies on Slippy, Japan faced a very different reality. Even with rollback netcode, a connection between Japan and the US is strained by sheer geographical distance. But beyond the technical barrier, Japan also has a deeply rooted anti-modification culture, which made it far more difficult to get newer players interested in a modded version of Melee, even one as essential as Slippy. This cultural divide became especially visible in 2020 when the prestigious Big House series planned to run its 10th iteration online using Slippy. Soon after announcing the format, the Big House tournament organizers would receive a cease and desist from Nintendo. The hashtag Free Melee movement erupted across Twitter, gaining widespread support from the global gaming community. But in Japan, the reaction was very different.
A lot of people were saying about that on the Big House was cancelled by Nintendo. Like, Free Melee happened, and a lot of Japanese were saying really bad things to the Free Melee. Like, 100% the Melee guys is bad. Why are you guys attacking Nintendo? Fuck you, or something like that. So I wrote a blog about what's happening actually, and it's not like this is like illegal, this is legal, and like this problem is like this, blah blah blah. And then I explained, and in the past we had this, and Nintendo like said no, and like explained like Evo 2013, and like we were trying to do Word Tour tournament but canceled or something like that. But still like 60% says like fuck you to me through DM or something. So that was really difficult, like really difficult to explain why, but I think it's a kind of culture thing, I think.
During this period, AMSA had to rely almost entirely on lab work and matchup study to keep improving. With limited online practice and local competition, his growth would depend on what he could cook up on his own. When the world finally began to reopen, no one knew what his results would look like. Had isolation slowed him down, or had it forged something new? AMSA's chance to answer that question came with the first major return to LAN event, Smash Summit 11. In the groups and gauntlet stage, AMSA immediately proved that he was still a threat. He defeated Captain Falcon player None, pushed Zane, the undisputed best player of the online era, to a nail-biting 3-2, then beat Aklo in the gauntlet. Most impressively, he defeated Mango in the gauntlet to claim the top seed of his pool. On the winner's side of the final bracket, he went toe-to-toe with Hungrybox in a matchup widely considered brutal for Yoshi, bringing the set down to the wire. Though he was ultimately eliminated at 9th by his friend and longtime bracket demon Axe, Amsa had made a statement. Not only had he kept pace, he was taking games and sets off the very best players in the world. His next event, Smash Summit 12, was an even stronger showcase.
Crazy on the last stock, but he's got an answer. He's got an answer for everything.
In one of the tournament's biggest surprises, Amsa dismantled Hungrybox in a dominant 3-0.
Oh. That's just it. Oh my god. Hungrybox not even surviving the invincibility.
I don't think I've ever seen a player that prepared. That was insane. For a matchup that I think is difficult, he was prepared. That was insane.
This was his highest summit placement yet, at 5th. Only a week later, he placed 5th at the Smash World Tour Championships, then Open 2022 with another 5th place finish at Genesis. Consistency, the trait many believed Yoshi could never achieve, was now becoming the hallmark of Amsa's career. He wasn't just a wild card anymore, he was a pillar of top 8 contention. As 2022 continued, his placements and wins started to get better and better. A 3rd place finish at Pound 2022 with wins over Cody Schwab, Leffen, and Laud.
That's the peach! That's the peach!
Yup.
Yoshi did the peach to peach!
He got it in there, peach!
Wow, Amsa defeating a huge demon.
Yes.
The trend was undeniable. Amsa's peaks were rising, his lows disappearing, and top players across the world were now dropping sets to the Red Yoshi. Fans began to wonder, was it only a matter of time until Yoshi finally broke through to win a major? That question would carry into summer 2022 at Double Down in Las Vegas, where Amsa fought his way into top 8 on the winner's side. Waiting for him was a colossal challenge. Zayn, the #1 ranked player in the world, and someone Amsa had not defeated since 2016, back when Zayn was still early in his competitive rise. Zayn was now a generational melee talent, defined by precision, discipline, and tournament consistency, but many also attribute that consistency to his character choice, Marth. Marth is one of the few characters considered capable of going toe-to-toe with Fox, arguably even beating him. Beyond that, Marth holds even or advantageous matchups against nearly all the top tier characters. His game plan emphasizes spacing, disjointed hitboxes, and tempo control rather than relentless APM, making him a stable and reliable character under high pressure tournament conditions. It's no coincidence that several of Melee's greatest champions have used Marth to anchor their deepest runs. But here's the irony. While Marth performs exceptionally well against top tiers, he has historically shown more vulnerability to the mid-tiers in comparison. Aklo's Link and Axe's Pikachu prove that mid-tier oddities can give Marth real trouble. So what does Yoshi bring to the table? Despite Marth's enormous disjointed sword, his aerials all come with meaningful end lag. That normally isn't a problem when Marth can space safely or force an opponent to respect his range, but Yoshi doesn't play by those rules. His double jump armor lets him absorb a hit that would knock back any other character, so he can slip through the threat and swing back immediately with a double jump cancel aerial. And once he gets in, Yoshi can combo Marth extremely hard. Marth, on the other hand, lacks a consistent high damage punish game on Yoshi. He can rack up stray hits and squeeze in a few follow-ups, but nothing resembling the flowchart punishes he gets on fast fallers. Then there's the off-stage dynamic. Yoshi's egg toss can turn the edge of the stage into a hazard zone for Marth. Normally, Marth can survive pretty long by stalling with double jump and side B, but eggs threaten to bonk him out of those stalls and bounce him into a kill. Meanwhile, edgeguarding Yoshi is a different challenge. Unless Marth lands a high knockback hit or a perfectly spaced tipper, Yoshi's armor simply shrugs off the attempt. So, the matchup becomes a tug-of-war of philosophies. Marth wants to wall Yoshi out, chip him up to high percent, and then secure a clean finisher, often much later than usual compared to the rest of the cast. Yoshi wants to slip through a single laggy swing, explode for a combo, or knock Marth off stage and start a lethal egg toss sequence. Whether or not the matchup is Marth favored or Yoshi favored or maybe even is up for debate, but one truth is undeniable. This is not a matchup where Marth can treat Yoshi like anyone else in the cast. And against Amsa's Yoshi, even the world's best Marths would have to rethink everything they knew. Despite this, Zayn is barely able to clutch out Game 1, although it takes getting Yoshi's final stock past 200%. But Amsa isn't discouraged even for a moment. Game 2 opens with an explosive start. Amsa immediately shows how terrifying Yoshi can be once Marth is off stage, using armor, double jump cancel aerials, and eggs to dismantle Zayn's recoveries.
Lives forever.
I do feel like Zayn's in two modes, right? Like he kills you at 0, or he has to nickel and dime you to 250.
Which like is something that he can do, something that he used to do there versus like Puff
No
and Peach all the time.
way! What?
He misses his jump. Dude is good though, because
the DI mix up there. Who thought it was gonna send that way?
Ooh, good DI on that one. First snare, and this damage is just like just making his life easier.
And the adaptations in the AMSA edgeguard flowchart are just looking so clean right now.
For Game 3, Zane counters Final Destination, a classic pick. Without platforms, Yoshi loses access to some of his strongest movement tools, including platform shield drops and flowing wavelands. To win here, AMSA must rely entirely on precise double jump cancels, parries, and perfect spacing to squeeze through Marth's wall of aerials. Although Zane is able to hold the lead throughout much of the game, AMSA finds his rhythm. Through some massive combos and strong defense, he steals the counter pick right out under from the world's best Marth.
Check chase. Zane's still living. Corner DIs. Oh, but he gets caught by an egg, and another pop up for AMSA to up air him off the top, taking Game 3.
Now down 2-1, Zane has no choice but to run it back and retry his counter pick.
Everyone's sponsors.
Oh, what the Phantom!
The down smash Phantom!
No, Zane!
Oh, Zane misses! He ledge checks, but he doesn't recover back. Zane is down a full clean stock.
Using every defensive trick in Yoshi's arsenal, armor drifts, parries, double jump cancel punishes, he clings to his final stock and turns every opening into a statement. In the final moments, he closes out the set 3-1.
Oh, F smash!
He dashed forward! He dashed forward!
Oh, tried to get the reversal!
Oh,
Egg roll! No way!
F smash to the left? What was that supposed to be?
Oh my god.
Oh,
misses the
down
down
smash really doesn't connect! Oh, does Zane have his jump? He gets flogged off the side.
Oh my god!
No! Oh my god! AMSA takes Zane! He is in winners finals over Zane!
Wow. What a showing! AMSA's never beaten Zane. Well, no, he beat him in a Xanadu way back in the day. But nobody's counting that one. He hasn't beaten this Zane, and nobody expected this, man.
Winners Finals would pit AMSA against Cody Schwab, a player with a strong track record against Yoshi, but one AMSA had defeated before.
Yeah, I'm really liking...
Oh! Dude,
that is an AMSA classic.
Dude, okay, that worked on everyone in like 2016, 2017.
Cody, one of the original angles foxes. I feel like he really made a name for himself when he was just like hitting ridiculous angles.
Oh,
man. Jab instead of down tilt.
Oh, so fast by AMSA.
That's up here? Barely.
Is he going to down B?
Okay, but no.
That's some ultimate stuff.
Well, yeah. Look at this coverage.
Yeah, that's...
Yoshi has to eat a mix-up.
Sure.
Oh, man.
Oh, scrapping in the corner, and goes the way of Yoshi.
No jump here?
Oh, yeah. So the egg, like, I don't know. It feels like AMSA is always working, right? Like, you never see AMSA.
Hardest working man in Melee.
You never see,
God.
Wow, up tilt, up air. IBDW with the Mario Kart DI to get it. AMSA tries to grab, but the roll is so slow from Yoshi. IBDW goes for an up smash, but doesn't quite work. Yeah.
Wow.
AMSA.
Down 0-2, AMSA makes a decision no one expects. Instead of a traditional tri-plat stage, he counterpicks Final Destination for Game 3. The commentators are absolutely stunned.
And FD, wait.
Oh.
AMSA counter?
AMSA FD? For the punish?
I think FD's not good.
Final Destination is a stage that is traditionally brutal for Yoshi. With no platforms to escape to, Fox can fully lean into dash dancing, laser camping, and long, suffocating neutral exchanges, the exact style that has historically dismantled Yoshi players. For most, this stage is a death sentence. But AMSA isn't running from the matchup. He's fully embracing it. Rather than avoiding Fox's strengths, AMSA bets everything on precision, trusting his punish game, his reads, and his ability to outplay Cody in the most unforgiving environment possible. And somehow, it worked.
Because right now he's looking. Oh, this is what he needs.
No
jump. Oh my gosh, the down smash. Did he land? He didn't.
No.
So quick.
Wow.
So quick,
that
AMSA.
One air dodge mistake from IBDW. AMSA takes it.
AMSA closes out Game 3 on Final Destination, flipping a long-held narrative on its head and proving that even Yoshi's worst stage isn't unwinnable in the right hands. Now on the board, AMSA will face off against Cody on Pokemon Stadium for Game 4.
Jab lock. Jab lock.
Oh my God! What?
Oh,
no,
catches the
is gone.
jump. Oh, I hate the
Oh,
sprinting. Oh,
how
wait.
How did he get over there?
She running, sprinting, yeah.
Oh my God.
Light without Mario on his back.
Oh, jab reset.
Oh, he keeps going. React to Texas, eat him. Oh, he reacts so fast. Finds the reversal anyway. Oh my God, he dared through it. He's so good. Oh my God, Amsa cleans up.
Despite the multiple instances of absolute brilliance, Cody is able to seal the game out and land a spot in winners finals.
Oh, the up air. First up air breaks, second up air kills. Cody moves on to winner's side of grand finals.
However, the game plan was clearly coming together for Amsa, and after solidly defeating Fiction in losers finals, he would return for a rematch. Although he went down 2 games immediately in the first set, Amsa would start this next set going back-to-back in games.
Oh, Amsa actually tried to read the shield drop there.
That should
with
be
up
it.
smash. But yeah,
Oh,
I don't think
man.
Amsa has a jump. Number of things are going to be putting in knockdown just like that. And you know that Amsa's looking for it to seal the deal with the down smash, evens it up.
With disciplined movement and sharp punishes, Amsa takes control.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, he's going for it then too.
Uh-oh. Big
It
gimp.
doesn't kill
Big
him.
gimp.
Wow. In this stock, what can he get off of it?
Oh,
It's so
jab.
dangerous for Cody to be fighting Amsa near the platform. He waits out the spot dodge. He gets hit by the egg anyway. This edge guard is still going.
Oh.
Never mind.
Oh.
Hey.
But the parry.
BDW coming in with a big full hop back air.
No!
SD from IBDW. The crowd loves it.
Having already proven he could win on Cody's counter pick, he now just stands 1 game away from resetting the bracket. But Cody isn't finished. He claws back game 4, forcing a decisive final game and putting the pressure squarely back on Amsa. Now holding the counter pick advantage, Amsa faces a choice. He knows that playing safe won't be enough. To win this set, he has to take a risk. So once again, he does the unthinkable. Amsa counterpicks Final Destination. The match opens with a brutal scramble between Fox and the Dinosaur. Cody strikes first, sniping Yoshi's double jump and sharking him from below to take the early lead, but Amsa fires back. With a series of razor-sharp reads on Cody's drift and shield habits, he forces Fox off stage and cleans up the stock with a precise edge guard. Even with movement options stripped to their bare minimum, Amsa's neutral and punish game remain immaculate. He's able to keep pace with Fox blow for blow, and the game grinds its way to a last stock situation. Sensing the danger, Cody shifts gears, leaning heavily into a defensive hit-and-run playstyle. Percent is starting to climb, the room is tightening. Then it happens. Amsa lands a perfectly timed parry. Catching Cody's panic jump, he explodes into a combo that launches Fox off stage. With Cody clinging onto his last chance, Amsa stands 1 edge guard away from the impossible. The vision is there. The game plan is there. The execution holds right up until the very last moment.
Oh, the egg barely does it in! Oh my God! Oh my God! A critical miss! Amsa dies last stock when he has the edge guard.
A single mistimed double jump cancel, no recovery left, and in an instant, the game and the tournament slips away. Amsa was closer than ever to victory, but like every hopeful champion, he would first have to taste bitter defeat. What defines a true competitor is the ability to rise after the hardest losses, to dust yourself off and come back swinging the moment the opportunity appears. For Amsa, that next opportunity would arrive at what was shaping up to be perhaps the most difficult Melee tournament ever held thus far. In October of 2022, the legendary Big House Series returned for its 10th iteration in Detroit, Michigan. With nearly 1,000 Melee competitors packed into a venue, this edition quickly became notorious, not just for its massive size, but for the sheer concentration of talent. Dozens of top 100 players were in attendance, and more importantly, an unusually large number of super major caliber champions, all gunning to take home one of the most prestigious tournament series in Melee. To win the Big House 10, you couldn't just rely on a favorable bracket, you had to be ready for any opponent, any character, and any playstyle. Whoever emerged victorious would need to be the best Melee player in the world on that day. Despite the chaos unfolding, top seeds drowning early, upsets erupting across every wave of pools, Amsa's run began surprisingly smooth. After clearing the first phase of pools, he dispatched the explosive Captain Falcon main Mateo 3-1 to secure a winner's side spot in top 64. From there, he cleanly 3-0'd the Sheik main Crudo, advancing to a top 24 qualifier. Waiting for him was Kadoran, the second best Marth in the world and ranked 10 on the Summer 2022 Top 100. A formidable test for any top player, and one that even the best would be worried about running into this early.
Approaching with aerials and things. Tries to do tricky platform movement, tries to do a bunch of things. At the end of the day, Marth forward air is just dominant. You know, it's just a really good move. None of that matters though, because like one of those stocks I talked about earlier, Marth just died immediately, just got obliterated.
In a commanding 3-0, Amsa showcases a masterclass in the Marth matchup and pushes deeper into bracket contention. Now sitting in winners quarterfinals, one match away from top 8, he would have to face the legendary Hungry Box, a player he could beat as history showed, but also a player who could never be counted out and had plenty of Amsa sets to show for it, a contender who was always capable of winning the entire tournament.
His drift coming down, I think he needs to do a better job dodging the eggs. Because he's gotten hit by some crucial ones. The egg does like 10 damage.
That was another crouch under a pound. He's down but not out.
that's for sure.
Oh,
Okay,
but now he's down.
There it is.
Now he's out.
He's out.
Of game two. I don't know why barrage feels like the right word, but when it comes to eggs. But wait a minute. Out but not down.
Oh!
What? That's
Oh,
sick.
no!
What just happened? An egg stage spiked? Pop?
This is not tenable.
65%! So it can't be done!
It can't be done!
It's over!
5, 4,
I'm
3,
sorry, done it.
2, 1.
With a 3-1 victory, Amsa was now on the winner's side of the top 8 bracket, having already taken down 2 top 10 level players to get there. His next opponent would be a bit of a wild card, Sunsei. Although known to be an incredibly skilled and technical player, many saw Sunsei as someone whose true potential was rarely ever showcased in tournaments. That was until today, where Sunsei was on a Cinderella run, having upset Leffen early into the bracket and then continuing that momentum with a win over Captain Falcon main S2J and European Fox player Pipsqueak. With his confidence peaking and momentum entirely in his favor, Sunsei entered top 8 as one of the most dangerous players in the room, a wild card on a hot streak and the next obstacle in Amsa's path to victory.
I forgot how many frames his armor is. It was like 30. I don't want to, you know what? I don't want to hit y'all with misinformation, but I know at the tail end of his armor is like
there from an odd situation.
Nice. He's like, look, I'm gonna force you to double jump cancel. And then the moment you land, I'm about to drill shine up smash it. God, like Yoshi player here, like nah.
Amsa can take these stocks immediately. Oh, he's egging it. The egg is good. The egg
He said, look, man, I got a dozen for you.
Amsa's super prepared for the transformations. Doesn't it feel like Amsa's hella prepared for the transformations?
Yeah.
Oh my God, forward air.
And Amsa takes it 3-1 over Sunsei. Man, that was some great melee.
Really good melee.
With a clutch reversal into a devastating meteor smash, Amsa secures his place in winners finals. At this point, what the crowd was witnessing was undeniable. Yoshi, a character once dismissed as a bottom tier, a novelty, a gimmick, was now guaranteed top 3 at the hardest melee tournament ever played. And it wasn't just that he had gotten this far, it was that it looked like he could win the whole thing. But standing on the other side of the bracket was a player who needed no introduction, the protagonist of Melee itself and the #1 ranked player on the Melee Stats all-time top 100 list. Of Melee's 5 gods, only 2 truly endured into the 2020s, Mango and Hungry Box. While the rest of their era faded or retired, these 2 continued to contend for championships, rarely slipping outside the top 5. But 2022 was a particularly unusual and defining year for Mango. In the summer rankings, he was placed at 11th. The lowest he'd ever been in a decade. The ranking was controversial. Many argued it didn't reflect his true level of skill. So, in classic Mango fashion, he turned that doubt into fuel. He went into overdrive, playing some of the best melee of his career, rising through brackets, defeating top 10 opponents, and eventually winning the largest super major of the summer, Super Smash Con 2022, in a legendary run. After that victory and several more deep tournament placings, Mango wasn't just outperforming his 11th place ranking. He had surged back into contention for top 2 in the world. On a personal level, the Big House was also incredibly meaningful to Mango. It was a tournament he had already won multiple times on his own, even getting tattoos to commemorate his victories. And now, at the Big House 10, Mango wasn't just here to add another trophy to the shelf. He was here to make a statement.
That's it. That's it. Wow. Wow. Mango just knocking Marth off and rolling up.
Holy.
that IBDW went to the right, he could still cover it with that.
Best game,
And Mango with a huge 3-0 as well.
Man.
Having already sent 2 major contenders tumbling into the loser's bracket, the greatest of all time stood atop a mountain, only to find the most unexpected challenger waiting for him. A silly red dinosaur.
And look at this first stock, Toe. 148% and 166%. Is this indicative of the melee we're going to be seeing for the next hour and a half?
93 to take that first stock. Whoa, what a forward tilt. And I guess that's probably oh, he tried to down B him.
Oh my God.
And that's a lot of damage, but the super armor into up air, kicking that egg.
Yeah, curious, but Amsa didn't make him pay too much.
Well, this is still going. Gets the neutral by the side of the stage. I mean, you're right. I think you just wind up a forward smash, and probably there's nothing you do on Battlefield. Mango getting under the forward air with the up smash. That was so much better to be able to kill this character off the top. Oh!
No jump now. So that first up air broke the super armor.
Last stock arrives with Mango pulling ahead, Yoshi sitting at a crisp kill percent. One up smash will seal the game. Using Yoshi's glide-like drift, Amsa slips just out of danger, finds a knockdown, and Fox never gets back up.
Tech chase.
Miss tech trap.
Down tilt. Not good for the down smash. Oh, and no meter cancel from Mango. Shades of the Sunsei set.
I was just going to say, just like Sunsei, that's not the first Yoshi forward air that we've seen this tournament, Toe.
As Game 2 on Pokemon Stadium begins, the commentators can hardly believe what they're watching.
Can you imagine a Yoshi in Grand Finals at the most stacked tournament of all time?
I get, I want to say no.
I have to say no, I can't imagine it.
But Mango isn't here to be part of someone else's fairy tale. He tightens up, plays clean, and takes the game with a solid 2 stock.
Well, I think Amsa's trying to prioritize moves that are a sure kill.
Yeah.
Now 1-1, Game 3 heads to Dreamland. With more space and an extra platform, Amsa has more tools, but Mango refuses to give him breathing room. The match becomes a war of attrition, both players extending stocks with clutch plays, then immediately making high-stakes mistakes of their own. And once again, Mango reaches last stock with a lead, and Yoshi deep in kill percent. But Amsa finds one more opening, just a tiny crack in Mango's defense.
This is looking like Mango's got control right now.
Oh my goodness. Amsa looking for the second place.
It turned around as quickly as I said it.
No.
He can't make it back.
He can't make it back.
As long as Fox's up B is, it's not that long, Toe. 2-1 Amsa.
On his back foot, Mango chooses Yoshi's story for Game 4, a small stage to suffocate Yoshi's movement. But Amsa is no stranger to his home turf, and he immediately reminds everyone why counterpicking him here is playing with fire.
Egg is not going to do 44%.
Precisely. And by the way, no jump on Mango. What do you do here?
He's dead. He's dead. That was not the DI he wanted. Mango, he could have been dead multiple times already. Oh, is that going to do it? Wave shine up smash, and now Mango with a slight baby lead. Will this go to a Game 5?
I don't know.
Stock of champions, Toe.
What I can't do is it is going to last on.
Another last stock scramble. Both players throw an aerial, both desperate to end it. Whoever lands it takes the game.
My heart stopped.
Oh my goodness! Up air trades, but the second it doesn't connect, and Amsa gets it! Amsa advances to Grants!
In the year 2022, since humans have started counting years and not lost track, a Yoshi in the game of Super Smash Bros. Melee has defeated 2 of the gods of the very game to secure a spot in Grand Finals at perhaps the most stacked tournament of all time. There's one set standing in Amsa's way.
The story of Winners Finals was clear. Mango could go toe-to-toe with Amsa, even take leads, but when it mattered most, when the margin of error shrank to nothing, it was Amsa who clutched it at every crucial moment. The lessons from Double Down were paying off. He was closing. Now in Grand Finals, Amsa was closer than ever to achieving his dream of winning a major tournament. A first for him, for Yoshi, and for Japan on the Super Major stage. Frustrated with how Winners Finals slipped away, Mango sets out to tear it through Losers Finals and earn a rematch. Despite a strong showing from Cody, Mango would take the set convincingly and earn his rematch with Amsa in Grand Finals.
Forward smash!
doesn't where I'm from, Bobby. That's a 3-1.
And perhaps in the most poetic setup that only Melee could provide, the stage is set for the ultimate collision. Legacy versus undying determination. On one side stood Mango, the protagonist of Melee, the people's champ, and the player that many consider the greatest to ever touch the game. A victory here would not only defend his throne, but further cement his legacy in esports history. On the other side stood Amsa, the lone Yoshi believer, the outsider from a distant scene, the player who was never supposed to make it this far. A win would defy decades of conventional wisdom and prove that with enough hard work and creativity, anything was possible. Would legacy prevail, or would undying determination be enough to overcome the odds on Melee's biggest stage? Game 1 on Battlefield begins with a statement. Multiple hard reads chained into a jaw-dropping combo that sends the venue into a roar.
Hardest tournament of all time. Game 1.
But Mango, a veteran of countless losers bracket wars and famous for his resilience, fires back immediately. He claws into the lead by the third stock, but Amsa's punish game is unlike anything other Foxes have faced. One perfectly placed egg snipe forces Mango into a vulnerable position off stage, and Amsa converts it into a clean finisher.
And that's going to be game 1.
I can't believe that Amsa turned that opening into a stock.
For game 2, Mango brings the set to Pokemon Stadium, but the counter pick changes absolutely nothing.
Huge. Wow, great slide of Mango, I gotta say.
Just so much damage every hit Amsa gets. He is just pummeling Mango.
Wow.
118. Oh my goodness, going across the whole stage, and he just waited. He waited.
In one of the most explosive sequences of the tournament, Amsa catches Fox in an extended up air string, juggling him across the stage and straight into the blast zone.
Goodness gracious, Mango's getting beat down.
He is getting beat down. Amsa is just such a problem right now. 2-0. Tone, it's real. We're one game away.
Amsa now leads 2-0. With the tournament slipping away, Mango kicks into overdrive, and if he has any grit left in the tank, he's going to need all of it right now.
Melee player I have ever known is down to his last stock here at the Big House 10.
Capitalizing on Pokemon Stadium's shifting platforms and notoriously low ceiling, he engineers a razor-thin situational kill, exactly the kind of momentum swing he needed to stay alive.
2 up airs. Oh my goodness, he's on the board, Tone. Oh. He's on the board.
Having already beaten Mango on Dreamland in the winner's final set, Amsa chooses it as his counter pick, determined to avoid the exact ceiling-based chaos that cost him Game 3. But as Game 4 begins, Mango refuses to slow down. He pushes the gas on immediately, fighting as if every exchange is his last.
That I've seen from Amsa, he's just been hitting so hard.
Speaking of hitting hard, Mango is coming alive a little bit.
Mango plays some of the most aggressive melee he's shown all tournament, with wave shines, pressure strings, perfect baits, everything lands. In a blistering display of offense, he overwhelms Amsa and takes Game 4 in a decisive fashion. The momentum is swung entirely into Mango's corner, and the arena can feel it.
It's not that simple. At this level of play, nothing's that simple.
Do you run it back to Dreamland? What do you do?
All eyes turn to Amsa. He's one game away from a bracket reset, one game away from watching his lead evaporate. And then, in a moment that silences the room, Amsa makes his counter pick. Having learned from his heartbreak at Double Down and willing to defy every piece of conventional melee wisdom, even if it costs him the tournament, Amsa chooses Final Destination, a stage long considered Yoshi's worst and one no Yoshi would ever willingly pick. But Amsa is no conventional Yoshi, and he believes he can find the openings and hit hard enough to make it all the way. With Game 5 starting, the world would see if his conviction was truly enough. Mango opens up Game 5 with a brutal string of up airs. With an early lost jump and no platforms to land on, he piles on damage before Amsa can stabilize. Yoshi struggles to find a clean knockdown, and Mango capitalizes with a crisp wave shine into up smash to take the first stock. Living all the way to 173%, Mango refuses to die, forcing Amsa to earn every inch of progress. Mango's pressure doesn't let up. He smothers Yoshi on the second stock and pushes the lead even further. But finally, with a well-spaced forward tilt, Amsa finds an opening. He starts a tech chase, and after repeatedly calling out Mango's upbeat angles to the ledge, he evens up the game right back. Mango answers almost immediately with an insanely precise wave shine punish, but when he overextends by just a hair, Amsa seizes the moment, intercepting Fox with a forward air reversal, knocking him down and catching the missed tech with a jab reset. One clean punish later, Mango is off stage with no jump, and Amsa closes it out.
Is Amsa gonna have
That's probably a dead fox, bro. That is a dead. The egg confirmed.
From a full stock deficit to a lead off a single opening, Mango is now on his final stock. But the kid never gives up. Mango fights tooth and nail, threading a drill into up smash to tie the game again. Last stock, Game 5, tournament point. The crowd is on its feet. The venue is shaking. Everything, legacy, history, the fate of a character once labeled bottom tier, comes down to this next final exchange. With a precise wave shine into a string of up airs, Mango explodes out the gate, tacking on a quick 50% and wiping out half of Yoshi's lifespan in seconds. But AMSA strikes back with the tiniest opening, the tip of Yoshi's shoe into a down tilt. Suddenly, Mango is knocked toward the ledge in a precarious spot. Panicking, Mango throws out a side B to stall and wait out AMSA's next move. Seeing the opportunity for an opening, he lunges towards Yoshi. It's a terrifying moment for AMSA, because despite being thought of mainly as a recovery tool, Fox's side B and up B can actually combo cleanly into his strongest finishers. Jokingly called the Sakurai combo, a nod to the way that the move was originally intended for casual play, it's infamous among competitors. If you mistime your challenge and fail to beat out the Firefox hitbox, what looked like your advantage can flip into an immediate kill for Fox. And here, in the final moments of the tournament, one mistake could end everything. With barely any time to react, there's only one option here that AMSA can turn to, and he executes it immediately. The 2-frame parry. Hitting it, AMSA catches Mango completely off guard, and once again, resets the missed tech. Fighting for his life, Mango smashed DIs down towards the stage to not get popped up. But AMSA is ready. He performs another reset to inhibit the defensive play, and after finally popping Fox up with an up air, hits him immediately with a blazing fast double jump cancel nair and chases the Fox across the stage. Now helpless in the air with no further defensive options to save him, in perhaps one of the greatest Yoshi plays ever performed, AMSA has done the unimaginable. The same commentator who years earlier at Kings of Cali 4 declared that AMSA had no chance of ever taking a set off M2K is once again in disbelief.
Indeed, history was made here today. Indeed, history was made here today, because I can nearly guarantee that if you go back into the entire 22-year history of this game, that at no major tournament, no national or international tournament, has a Yoshi won.
Never. Never.
AMSA had finally done it. After years of grinding, labbing in isolation, enduring long flights, harsh losses, and countless doubts, he had finally put everything together in a single tournament run. And not only did he win his first major, he did it at one of the hardest Melee tournaments ever held against the greatest Melee player of all time on the biggest stage imaginable. And the craziest part is that it wouldn't be the only time. One of the biggest concerns surrounding AMSA's inconsistency in earlier years was the sheer difficulty of traveling between Japan and the United States. Determined to push his limits, AMSA made a bold decision in 2022. He secured a visa and moved to Vancouver, Canada for a full year, placing himself closer to the heart of competitive Melee, eliminating jet lag, and giving himself the chance to grow at the same pace as the world's strongest players. The results spoke for themselves. Riding the momentum from the Big House 10, AMSA went on to win Apex 2022 and the Scuffed World Tour Invitational. By the time the 2022 year-end rankings were released, the impossible had happened. Although Mango fought long and hard, it was AMSA who would finish the year as the #2 player in the world. Eventually, the Red Yoshi would return home to be with his new bride in Japan, but his story was far from over. Even from across the globe, he continues to travel, compete, and remain a constant fixture at the top of major brackets, proving that his era wasn't a miracle run, but the product of mastery. The Red Yoshi from Japan had climbed the mountain, and in doing so, he had changed Melee forever. Despite the prophecy of 20XX, modern Melee has seen some of the greatest character variety in the game's history. Characters once considered dormant now have players actively pushing to place at majors, defeat top-level competition, and redefine what everyone thought was possible. Yet some still may wonder, would some of these players have seen more success if they devoted the same time to the tried and true top tiers instead? If the goal is simply to win, why go against the meta? Why choose the harder path? But perhaps the answer lies in a more pertinent question. Is winning solely the reason people play Melee? Despite the passion, the talent, and the countless hours you need to pour into the game to make it to the top, there's almost no real money in competitive Melee. There are no $1 million leagues, no developer-backed circuits, no life-changing salary waiting at the end of the bracket. Everything in the Melee scene is grassroots, held together by players, tournament organizers, volunteers, and fans who give far more than they'll ever receive. Even those who manage to make a living around Melee can only do so through secondary means such as content creation or sponsorships. Even at the highest level, tournament winnings alone are not usually sustainable. So why dedicate yourself to something so unforgiving when success mostly just means bragging rights? The truth is, the appeal of Melee has never been about winning, nor has it been about optimization, chasing some theoretical 20xx task perfect future. It's never been about who presses the most buttons, memorizes the most flowcharts, or plays the correct way. The reason people play Melee is perhaps best summarized by Melee Stats in a video aptly titled. At its core, the reason we play Melee is because Melee is a game about expression. It's hard to explain what makes Melee special to someone who hasn't tried to play it, but simply put, there are very few other games that allow you to play in a way that feels so unmistakably you. Sometimes, that expression is messy or unconventional. Sometimes it's a bit goofy, and other times, it looks downright degenerate. But it's also given us moments of brilliance you couldn't script if you tried, those 1 in a million ideas that make crowds lose their minds. The players featured in this video aren't beloved because they chose to win despite some artificial handicap they imposed on themselves. They're beloved because they show us what Melee becomes when someone chooses to play it the way they want it to be played. They bring new perspectives, new techniques, and new interpretations of what's possible. They win or lose on their own terms. It all starts with a simple spark, someone waking up one day and thinking, wouldn't it be cool if I tried this?